Hey everybody, how's it going? It is September 28th. This is RambleCast time. There's a Corbin on the stream with me.
Hello, I'm very tired.
Well said.
I've had a long day. Every single company decided to announce something today or yesterday, and I don't know why, but they have. And it's
Because
been
they
mildly
like
stressful.
money.
It's I wish they would spread these out a little bit. Oh, I switched desktops on my Mac and I don't know how to go back. Okay, there we go.
Uh, Austin. Really? There's no background music? How the hell's...
All right, Cody, you gotta start beatboxing.
Oh, that's really weird. I set the output earlier and it didn't go to the right place. Okay, it's fixed. That's very weird.
Excellent.
Okay, no clue. VLC doing VLC things. But yeah, Amazon. See, like I said, this we had to start with this topic. It was inevitable. Um,
Yes, Amazon announced everything today. They have new Kindles. They've got more smart speaker Echo TV things. They showed off their robot that rolls around on your floor with the camera again, which I will still not touch that with a 10-foot pole, but they seem to think people want that, so that's cool.
yeah. Well, right now, show of hands, who here is enthusiastic about buying and using Amazon's products, especially anything with a camera on it? That's what I thought.
Yeah.
um,
You don't need a larger sample for that study, I don't think. I think that's the correct answer.
yeah, pretty much. Um,
Yeah, so. Oh, I hear an echo on your end. I can slightly hear
am I?
myself.
Hello, hello. I don't think I hear it in echo.
Hmm. Okay, well, I can ignore myself talking. I do that often enough.
Let's see. Everything should be going out through the headphones. I think my fan noise might have been a little louder though.
Hmm. Wow. Oh, wow. I just realized Amazon's blog posts are completely useless.
uh, I feel like, again, very predictable truth.
Oh, this is because this is their company blog, not their consumer products blog.
Ah, well, that would be a problem.
There's Amazon, you have too many websites. All right, just I don't know.
Also
Where's
famously
the
a
gap?
problem with Google.
So, let's see. Here we go. All right, you can use this link.
Um, oh man, I I can't say what it is, but Corbin, oh my god, man. I can't wait to show you something that I just saw in the AP Slack. I'm going to have to show it to you later. But
Okay.
wow. I just saw one of the what are you effing thinking kind of moments from somebody.
Nice. Speaking of what are you thinking? All these Amazon cameras, am I right? Ho ho.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So I linked
Okay.
Engadget's summary of everything. Thank you, Engadget.
Yes.
I think the most interesting, well, I don't know. I think the thing that's probably the most different is this new Kindle. So Amazon for a while has been rumored to be making a Kindle that's more than just an e-reader, like something that would probably have drawing abilities. Which there's a couple of these now, like tablets that have a stylus and some kind of drawing support. And they finally did it. They announced the Kindle Scribe, which is a 10.2 inch e-ink tablet, so like iPad size, but it's an e-reader. And it has a stylus, so you can draw on books like you're making notes as you read, or you can just draw on a notepad and send documents to your PC. They said you'll be able to send documents from your computer to the Kindle and then draw on them and then back, which is nice because that's what I was using my Galaxy tablet for a lot, especially when I got hired and I had to sign like 15 different documents. That was helpful.
Yeah.
And yeah, they didn't have a lot of details on the stylus that I saw. They made a big deal about there's no charging the stylus, like it's simple, which I think means it's passive, so no touch sensitivity or like pressure sensitivity probably. It's maybe missing some other stuff you might expect if you're used to like an Apple Pencil. But
yeah, but you can do a lot with a passive stylus. Especially, like if you're going to battery power or keep a transistor in it or something like that so that it can sort of do temporary powered stuff away or without using a battery. If you're going to do any of that stuff, the functions you're probably going to do, not necessarily, but probably going to do, are things like triggering a camera or doing things remotely with gestures, stuff like that. Yeah. You're not going to do that kind of stuff with this thing. That's not what the Kindle is for. So
yeah, and I know, like, I've always found the pressure sensitivity stuff annoying or like gets in the way because like I'm not trying to draw art on my tablet. I can't draw, so what ends up happening is like I'll just like scribble on notes, and for some reason it's like the smallest line possible because I'm not like pushing down on my tablet. So like this is for mostly taking notes, so that makes perfect sense. I'm sure that's fine. I've used a couple phones that had passive styluses, and they're all fine. So I'm sure this is okay. The only other thing is I don't know what the latency is like. That is a big deal with drawing, and e-ink is not that great at latency. So I'm interested to watch some videos of this.
Yeah. Okay, I know that this is setting possibly the lowest bar, but I figure as long as it is at least half the latency or better than, let's say, the FedEx, UPS signing whatever you want to call those things, their scanner signing box tablet things, as long as it's half that latency, I wouldn't complain, because those things are slow as can be. Like, they're crazy bad. But honestly, like, yeah, I don't think anyone's gonna be looking for perfection with this.
Yeah, and also the main thing with e-ink is that clearing the screen is more difficult and time consuming than like adding more black pixels.
Yes.
So that benefits writing.
The one counterpoint to that, starting price $339.
Yeah, that is iPad money.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
more than the base iPad. Now, it's not more than the base iPad and the Apple Pencil, but these also fill pretty different use cases. Like they were making a big deal about, like, obviously because it's a Kindle, they're making a big deal about how nice it is for ebooks. And like I'm sure reading a book on a e-ink 10-inch screen is pretty nice. Especially, I remember when I was studying for not SAT but the other one, ACT, and I got the ebook version of a couple of like prep books, and those were the worst. On my I ended up like just like grabbing some. I don't think I had like a good tablet at the time. I grabbed someone's tablet and installed the Amazon app or whatever, because it was torture trying to read like educational material on that 6-inch screen. So I'm sure this is great for textbooks. It's not color, so it's not great for comics, but there's a lot of comics that are black and white, so that's probably great for those. And this really does seem like a big Kindle, plus you can sign documents and mark up books, and that's it.
Yeah, which I gotta say, when I'm seeing and hearing that, all I can think is just go buy an iPad and spend another $89 to get an Apple Pencil, and you have something that can do so much more, has so many other advantages. I'm just not seeing a lot of selling point for this price. And okay, maybe that is actually the issue, is like you want to spend $340 instead of $420. Is that the right math? Yeah, $420. So I can kind of see that as being the argument, but I don't know.
Yeah, this just depends on like how much do you want e-ink, because this is like definitely a more specialized device. So I don't know, it's interesting. Like I know, like I have my books on Nook, and even though I have my Nook around, I still just sometimes grab my tablet because it's, you know, it's mostly the larger screen, but also like I just like my iPad that I paid $300 for, so I'm gonna use it sometimes. But so I don't know, it's interesting. And they said they have more like document integration stuff coming that could potentially be kind of cool.
I imagine so. Out of curiosity, is someone who actually uses this will have to speak up on this, because I'm never going to test it myself, but does anybody know if the Kindle app actually supports stylus stuff on, let's say, the iPad? Because that would be the one vague argument. If you're the type of person who's actually going to mark up a bunch of ebooks, I could see maybe if this is just the only place you can do it, that might be compelling.
But I know you can take notes, like, and like highlight parts, and I believe add like type notes, but not doodle on them, basically. But maybe they'll add that because, you know, now they have infrastructure for this now, where they need to keep track of your drawings in the cloud. Yeah, exactly. This could be a thing that just starts here and appears in the app in 6 months. Wouldn't surprise me, especially for like, I don't know how much this matters, but the Kindle app was one of the first third-party apps that was optimized for the Surface Duo, and Microsoft was really pushing the stylus for that too. Oh yeah. So like that kind of, again, like I don't think the Duo matters at this point, but like that kind of form well, the Z Fold works with the S Pen too, right? So that kind of form factor, there'll be some people who want that. Yeah. Though I also do wonder how much that's a thing people actually want, but that's a separate subject. I don't know. This feels like a really neat product.
in the way that there are things that companies make no one cares about, but they're neat. And that's kind of where I worry this might be. Like, this could be fantastic, possibly, for like a college student that wants to go and take notes. Though, again, I would just tell them get an iPad, because you can actually get a keyboard. You can do a million more things with it. I'm running through my head all the different people who might want this, and honestly, I keep drawing a blank on it. It's like the only reason I can think of to want this is if you hate Apple.
Yeah, or just like really want, if you like really want Kindle stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you're, because like my logic too with this is like, if I really like my Kindle and I want a giant screen, and I'm like, okay, for like, you know, they sell the Kindle Oasis for like $250 or something. I'm like, if I want an even bigger screen, and you know, that's cool, I get a stylus too.
Mm-hmm.
I guess this makes sense. So yeah, I mean, like, I could see a couple types of people who would be really into this, but it is absolutely far more narrow than a typical tablet.
Yeah.
For the same reason that like an e-reader in general is kind of, it's not niche, but like it's something that can be done on a more general device and for, you know, more cheaply and easily. So yes, that was kind of interesting. They showed this, let me see. They also showed this sleep tracking thing called the Halo Rise, and this makes me uncomfortable because they made a big deal about it. It's basically like the same experience as wearing a Fitbit to bed that they're aiming for, but you're not wearing a Fitbit, which is nice because every time I try to wear like a smartwatch or something in sleep, it doesn't, I get too annoyed, I take it off. And they make a big deal about this not having any cameras or microphones or anything. It's just using like other kinds of sensors, like the I think one of the Nest hubs is like this, where it uses the Soli sensor.
I don't think it's called the Pro, but whatever their high-end Nest hub is.
The Max,
yeah.
Yeah, and so this is kind of like that, but I don't know, like I've done a couple deep dives into like sleep science, and it's just mostly horseshit.
Yep.
Like it's all because like there's not like one thing that like fits all people. Like some people need 8 hours of sleep. Some people are totally fine with like 5. And you know, sometimes sleep patterns are indicative of some other health condition, and sometimes they're not. You just, you know, can't, you know. So anyway, so like they were showing this, and they were bringing out like various like people with PhDs in their name, and I was kind of getting a little nervous. So like, I don't know about this guy. He's like,
oh, Austin's saying it's the Nest Hub Gen 2.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Like this, the sleep industry especially kind of creeps me out with how much it's the two-prong issue of like, number one, there's not a solution that fits everyone. Like it's also the same issue we have with like, well, I don't have a good way to say that, so I won't, but like it also gets into the same issue where we're like trying to solve society problems with more technology, where it's like, oh, you know, you can't sleep well. Is it because you can only get like 4 hours of sleep before you have to go back to your job and all your responsibilities for the day? No, it's fine.
So I'm gonna kind of echo most of what you said in maybe a few more specific ways. I will give
unintentional Amazon pun, Cody.
It was unintentional, yes. Yeah. Though I think briefly my brain did click that was a thing, and then I promptly forgot it by the end of that sentence. Anyway, so out of the gate, I will acknowledge this is the sort of thing where it's not that these are entirely useless. They can be useful for alerting you to maybe sleep apnea or something like that. You still have to actually go to a doctor to check anything out, but these things could be useful in alerting you that, you know, you're snoring weird or it sounds like you're not breathing well. To be fair, this is something that a smartphone app could do. You don't really need to have something this expensive or purposeless. Which notably, this thing is going to be $140. So, yay for taking advantage of people's concern for their poor sleeping habits.
They saw the Apple Watch. They're like, we want a piece of that. Come on.
Exactly.
They should. The next Amazon event, they're gonna start with like 5 people who are like, I had terrible sleep apnea, and then I bought this, and
it saved my life.
I slept perfectly. My marriage is saved. My children love me again.
To be fair, most of the people who have sleep apnea end up having to get CPAP machines, and I think that will do anything but save your marriage. One of my best friends, she had this ex that had a CPAP machine. As she once put it to me, it made it so she could sleep through literally anything. Because those things are loud. They are unpleasant to be anywhere near. But anyway, this is... So, you know, this could be useful for alerting you to exactly like 2% of sleep conditions. But realistically, if what it's doing is basically just listening to audio and checking for pattern, the most it can really do is pick up on irregular breathing or snoring. That's, you know, only really useful for identifying apnea. And if it's...
I was watching the...
I was going to say, and if it's recording your movement, honestly, this isn't going to do a ton. Like, the most it's really going to do is register, oh, did this person definitely kind of half woke up at this point during the night. That's pretty much it. Because most people don't toss or turn just completely in their sleep. They usually do it when they're kind of coming out of REM sleep. That's it. That's not super useful because you're supposed to come out of REM sleep a couple of times. So, yeah, this information isn't super useful, and it's all kind of a lot of hand-wavy BS. Not to say there isn't some useful value to it, but it's very little. So yeah, I think this is mostly a product designed to take advantage of people who recognize that they're getting bad sleep, but don't bother, but they want to buy something to tell them they're getting bad sleep, so it'll confirm it for them. They're not trying to do something about it. They just want something to prove it to themselves.
Yeah, because like I'm trying to say what I mean without like making fun of people who have like chronic sleep issues. That's not what I'm going for. But like the price and the design and the fact that it seems to probably only be mildly useful, I'm getting big like Brookstone energy from this.
Oh,
like this
yeah.
is 100% something that would be in the window of a mall in like 2007. That does almost nothing, and then you use it for a couple weeks, and then it gets shoved in a garage or closet somewhere.
Yeah, it really does have that look to it. Brookstone or Sharper Image, which, okay, I know doesn't truly exist anymore, but points there.
Is Sharper Image not around anymore?
It is and it's not. The brand name was officially bought up by somebody, but the company kind of went under.
So it's like it's a Toys R Us.
I want to, I guess a little kind of half Toys R Us, half is it Polaroid or Kodak, or maybe it's both of them. I don't know. Whichever one.
Those are both. Yeah.
Yeah, whichever one of them was sort of sold off and licensed out. But Sharper Image, the name still exists, but I don't think it's owned this way it used to be.
Yeah. Because was that ever a store, or am I just thinking of Brookstone?
Oh, Sharper Image, 100% was a store. I actually have. If you ever heard the name Ionic Breeze, does that sound familiar?
I don't think so.
They're the sort of fanless fans that don't actually move a lot of air, but they work kind of as air filters. They're basically just ionized metal blades that they kind of motivate air through them, and they grab hold of particles in the air and suck them in, which they're actually, come to find out, really bad for you. But Sharper Image originally, or not originally, but at some point Sharper Image went from being just kind of another Brookstone to suddenly being very popular because they started shipping these Ionic Breezes, or selling these Ionic Breezes, and they were massively popular because everyone thought, ooh, hey, finally something to clean the air that doesn't require air filters. Before they realized, it means pulling out the blades every month and wiping them down and cleaning them off, and we don't want to do that either.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't remember I remember those stores in malls growing up, but I couldn't remember that Brookstone and a Sharper Image take up the same place in my head, so I wasn't sure. But
for me, I know that this isn't true everywhere, or wasn't true everywhere, but in my mind, Sharper Image was always the one that was in malls. Brookstone was always the one in airports. Eventually, yes, Brookstone started appearing in more of the malls that I saw, but that was only after Sharper Image crashed. At least I think. To be fair, none of them were in the places, or in the areas I grew up in. I only saw either of these when I moved to Vegas. So, and Vegas,
there was one of those in the mall where I grew up, but I think it was Brookstone. I'm not sure. But...
I mean, maybe that was kind of an East Coast West Coast thing too. Brookstone might have just been making its expansion westward through airports, and Sharper Image was already in malls.
Sharper Image is the Five Guys of electronic stores.
I mean, they both kind of are, but yeah. Austin, everyone only went to those stores to sit in the massage chair. 100%
Oh,
true.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Good times.
Yep. Though I hate massage chairs, or hated. I'm not sure how I'd feel about them now. But when I was younger, I just found them to be really uncomfortable and basically torture devices. So, yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, just take me back to 2004 mall experience, where I can sit in the funny chair at Sharper Image and go in the Apple store and play with the iMac G5s that they had set up with like kid games on them in the Apple store.
Back when no one was in the Apple store.
Yeah, back when there was like ample room to move around in an Apple store, and like an actual checkout counter where people moved in that area to go buy something.
And no, I was about to make a probably not entirely okay joke.
It's fine. I almost made fun of chronically ill people like 3 times, so we're good.
Well, okay. I guess it wouldn't actually... There's nothing wrong with this joke. I was just thinking someone out there would take offense to it just because. But I was going to say, And all the funny colors were on the computers instead of people's hair.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was a solid attempt.
Yeah, it's not that funny, but
Yeah.
it is a fair observation. Or rather, an accurate observation.
I did just buy hair dye again, so I'm gonna try for a third time if I can actually do that. We'll see. I didn't get a bright color though, but I don't know. I didn't try to do a bright color last time, but I did the hair bleach, and then the other color didn't take, so I basically did that. But that was fun. So you'll see the results next week, I guess, if I'm here. Or if I turn off my video, it's because I'm horribly ashamed.
You'll just wear a hat.
It's true, like I am right now, because I just got a haircut and I get them very short, so I look weird for a while.
Yeah. I still want to see you go for iMac Blue. Anyway,
perhaps.
Yeah.
Well, I have the blue Power Mac, so I would match.
Seth, see, be on brand.
Yeah. Okay.
And as Austin points out, one of those stores had the exclusivity deal for Trump steaks. Yes, that's actually true. I forget which one it was. I thought it was Sharper Image, but maybe it was Brookstone.
Oh boy. So okay, I've made fun of the sleep thing, so I feel better now. They also updated the Echo Dots again. They're still shaped like spheres, which I kind of missed when they looked like hockey pucks.
Yep.
They didn't like stand out as much, but I'm sure the speakers on these sound immensely better. So I get why, but
I heard they did. I didn't really have a good way to compare them when I did a review of the Echo Dot 3rd gen. Or wait, 4th gen? Whatever it was.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers.
But, yeah, I mean, they're still not that great. Yeah. They're passable for podcasts. They're decent enough if you kind of... Like, if you just want a little bit of music kind of as background sound, but you don't want it very loud, and you don't care how quality it is, then they're fine. But if you actually want music you're gonna listen to, do not do it through a dot. At least not through a dot. I would say I don't think the Echo Studio, from what I've heard of it, is that good either. It's good enough, I mean, for its size, but
yeah.
I
haven't tried any Amazon speaker hardware, so I have no idea. I just know that my original Google Home still sounds great.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's kind of the thing that gets me is the original Google Home was cheaper than the Studio, and I thought it sounded better, which is kind of concerning. It's
probably, besides the sound bar on my TV, it's probably the best speaker I own. And I haven't listened extensively to the newer Nest Audio, but I did buy 2 or 3 of them for family members, and so I listened to them long enough to make sure they worked, and they also sound pretty good. But
that makes sense.
I still got the original for myself. And so the new Echo Dot, they made it sound slightly better. They still have the side one, the alternate one with the clock on it, where it's got like a dot matrix display on the speaker, which kind of looks cool. And now it does. I don't know if this is actually new or if they just like made it sound new because it's what Google does, but it will show the like title of a song if you're playing something like on a car radio with like FM channels. It'll show like a weather indicator sometimes, so that's kind of cool. It's the same price. The feature that's kind of the most interesting is this has the ability to act as a Wi-Fi extender for an Eero network.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of, and bringing that as a software update to some of the older Echoes. I don't know if, I don't know which ones. I don't think they clarified that, but some of them. And an Amazon person emailed me and they said that the dots, because like I see that and I'm like, okay, that's interesting, but I'm sure this does not have as good wireless hardware as something made for that.
Oh,
That's
no, it definitely wouldn't. But,
Yeah.
you know, this is kind of that thing where if you have your Eero network situated in your house, and then you've got like one point kind of next to a window or something, and it reaches your garage, and this is your extension in the garage. Plus, it's also playing music and other stuff for the garage. Like, that's kind of... That would be worth it.
Yeah.
You know, it makes it... It gives you just that extra bit of oomph that helps.
Yeah, and I didn't see this originally, but in a blog post, they did say an Amazon person emailed me, and they said that the maximum speed, if you're connected to one of these dots, is 100 megabits per second, which is not that great, but you know, it's like that's something that like I would probably I would turn off. Just, but again, like they're going for, like you said, like just range, not necessarily super fast, but I mean, I guess it's cool.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels a little disappointing that that's it, but I get it. Like, it also makes total sense that that's how it would be limited.
Like, these are still,
at least given the price.
Yeah, like they're still, is it $40? It's
$50 and $60, depending on if you get the version with a clock or not.
Yeah, and they go on sale all the time.
Yes.
So realistically, it's gonna be more like $35-$40.
Yeah, this is on sale about as often as Google puts a few of its products on sale. It's like Chromecast. They're just perpetually on sale, unless you catch them in the one off week a month.
Yeah, and the Wi-Fi stuff also ties into Eero stuff. They announced a lot of new Eero, which I'm using an Eero 6 right now because it is what I still had in my closet when my TP-Link thing that I review. I've just been coasting on review units of routers. I had an Eero 6 and a Eero 6 Pro, and I was using the Pro for a while, and then I gave it to my mom, and then it died. And so I'm using normal Eero 6 right now, which is not like amazing, but that's mostly because I can't have mostly because my things are not Wi-Fi 6 or whatever. Less of the fault of the router, and also because there's like a million Wi-Fi networks around me because I'm in an apartment building. But yeah, they announced new Eero stuff, and I was trying to, Engadget does not have a good article about this yet. Oh, okay, it's below this, but so Eero already has like normal mesh Wi-Fi stuff, and they have little extenders you can get to put on walls. I've almost bought one of those a couple times, but I've held off. And now they're like going full prosumer, it seems like Ubiquiti style, not at Ubiquiti level, but going in that direction, where they're now making Eero nodes that are powered over Ethernet, which is interesting. So if you're one of those people that has a big home and you can either wire all this up yourself or pay a nice contractor to do it, it's a lot easier to run a Wi-Fi network in a larger area with this. At least if like the outlets are in weird places. Like, I see people do this kind of stuff if on like hallways and that kind of thing, where there's like nowhere really to put this station.
So
that's neat.
Yeah, Well, and before the stream, you and I were both talking about this. Basically, like, we don't. Well, I was saying I don't really want to stay on Google Wi-Fi, but at the same time, I don't want to move to Eero because it's Amazon. And I kind of don't know who else I would move to, because every single thing has some big, like, breaking issue with it.
Yeah, like I'm in this spot where I was on, again, like, this is the thing, I have been coasting on review units because when I was living with my mom, I got a chance to review, I think it was a Netgear system, and which was fine, but it like had, no, actually I take that back, it wasn't fine, it like stopped randomly all the time and I don't know why, which was really fun to deal with. And then at some point when Amazon released the Eero 6 and Android Police wanted to review them, I did that, and I asked for the Pro to review, and they sent me the normal one. So they just sent the Pro in addition to that, so I had two of these things. So I reviewed one of them, and then I had the Pro 6 running in our house. After that, it was perfect. That house was like pretty big, and the ability to put these nodes, I had like the main router was like on the main floor, and then there was an upstairs that was always really difficult for the Wi-Fi systems. So I had two downstairs and one up, and it was flawless. Like, I was getting great speeds everywhere. That triple band backhaul, like that dedicated backhaul on triple band routers, perfect. Mm-hmm. Like, I was getting almost identical speeds in parts of the house when I was connected to a secondary node that I would get if I was Ethernet right into the router. Like, it was really cool. So when I moved, I took the normal Eero with me, and I left the Pro at my mom's, and at some point it died. I don't know if there was a power surge or something, but the unit, like one or two of the units, just wouldn't really work anymore. That was really fun to debug over the course of 2 days at my mom's house. Turns out it's kind of hard to figure out what's wrong if it like only sometimes randomly fails. It's very fun to deal with. So now I've got a dead Pro, I've got a normal Eero 6, and it's fine right now, but it is Amazon hardware, which I don't like being on my network for the same reason I don't like I have not bought a single Facebook hardware product. Like, I just...
To be fair, there aren't very many of those.
Yeah.
It's really just VR headsets.
Like, I want an Oculus. I'm not buying it. But like, I would buy one if it was made by another company. But like, I don't, like, it's just a thing where, like, I have Google stuff. I'm pretty entrenched in there. It's hard for me to get rid of all that, but like, I'm not really into Amazon, and I can be like, okay, nope, I can just push this out.
Yeah, Amazon doesn't really provide anything that is so good that you can't just look at some competitor and find something that is at least comparable.
Yeah.
So and Amazon's ecosystem is not in any way motivating.
Yeah, I've used a couple Fire TV sticks. I've got a bunch of Fire tablets over here. I have very few positive experiences with those. So yeah, I'm still on my normal Eero 6. It's fine. Like, it is working. I've discovered most of my Wi-Fi issues were due to using more than one node in my one bedroom apartment. So I was actually getting lower speeds than if I just only had one of them plugged in. Because they were talking over each other or whatever. And also I found out that my desktop PC has like the world's worst wireless card in it. So now I use my Mac Mini as a like $800 Wi-Fi adapter for my gaming PC. It works great.
Oh my god.
Like, I just have internet sharing on permanently on that Mac Mini, and I have a Ethernet cable that runs like 3 inches. It's perfect. It worked. I get like triple the speeds code. It's great.
Oh my god.
And they're in the same spot. Like, they're on the same...
No, I get it. That's just... Yeah. That is disturbing.
It is extremely funny.
One thing I think I'm finding slightly interesting about this is they didn't decide to make this an Eero 7. It is just a power over Ethernet version of the Eero 6. At least as far as I can tell.
Yeah, well, I think if I'm not mistaken, I believe Amazon does their version numbering based on, or at least now they do, based on the Wi-Fi standard.
Oh.
So like the Eero 6 is Wi-Fi 6, and then they made a Eero 6. I don't know if they called it 6E, but like that kind of thing. They call it 6E? Yes, they did. Okay. So I guess if they're not going to make an Eero 7 until Wi-Fi 7 exists, which will probably be like next year or the year after.
Yeah.
There's already tests of it.
At this rate, Wi-Fi has turned into our cell data
And every time there's a Wi-Fi update, it's just like, oh, we can use a new wireless band now, guys. And we'll use all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Austin said, I got a Nest Wi-Fi and a point for $80 at Target. David said, I switched to Eeros because I found an Eero node last year at Target on clearance. Yeah, like I have very minimal issues with Eeros software, which is always the trouble point with these. Like they always like I reviewed a TP-Link system for XDA a few months before I left, and that the app for that was horrific. Like it barely worked. Eeros app is pretty good. There's just no way for me to access Eero stuff on a desktop computer, which is kind of silly. But a lot of them are like that now. So yeah, I don't know what I'll replace that with. I was looking at Asus's stuff because they've got the really fun routers that look like creatures from Half-Life.
Yes.
With all the antennas, and they've got wonderful web-based panels with like 100 settings for me to dick around with. And they've got a whole mesh ecosystem too. So.
And yeah, and that's probably the only company that I'm sort of interested in trying out because.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume Asus isn't putting spyware on their routers.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard horror stories from almost everywhere else.
Every other mesh company has either failed or is clearly going to fail, or it's one of a few of the companies that are just known for either spying or at least being suspect. I mean, I think everyone pretty much expects Amazon is spying in some way, shape, or form. It was what, Ubiquity that was sending everything back home, I think. Maybe I'm mixing them up with somebody else. And then
I don't know about Ubiquity, but I do know when I reviewed that, I believe it was it? No, it wasn't TP-Link. It was it was TP-Link.
Okay, then that's who.
When I reviewed a TP-Link system, because I have NextDNS. Shout out to NextDNS. I found out that the router was sending almost every network request to a malware security analyzing company, which okay, that shouldn't be on by default, and it should have a switch. And
yeah,
again, like classic sketchy company behavior. When I emailed them about that when I was doing my review, they were like, "Yeah, we're putting a switch in."
Never did.
I don't think they ever put a switch in. No, I got an email like 6 months later or something like that from someone who read my review, and they noticed the same thing on theirs, and they were like, "Hey, did TP-Link ever tell you anything?" I was like, no, they didn't. They didn't do that. So
yeah,
not gonna buy anything from there. And like, thankfully I found that. So in the review I was like, yeah, no one should buy this. Like, if I didn't have NextDNS, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah. And then, I mean, Google Wi-Fi, it had some neat, I don't want to say innovative features, but some features that were relatively hard to find anywhere else when it first launched. Many of those have now been copied. And outside of that, Google Wi-Fi never really got past its assorted issues with things like if you don't have if the internet connection goes down, half of your network just stops functioning. Like, that is still a problem. It's better than it used to be. It's way better than it used to be, but yeah, that shouldn't happen. Like, if your internet connection goes down, all the computers on your network should still be able to talk to each other. And that is not as reliable as it should be. Carson, what features am I talking about in particular? I'm talking about things like, I forget what any of this is called, but like the priority mode, where you can pick one device and basically it gets traffic shaped to get the highest throughput on your network, and everything else kind of just gets sort of demoted, I guess. Let's see, it was pretty good at detecting like what kinds of devices, and sort of halfway naming them for you. You can still custom name them, and it's good at actually keeping track of that, but it's not perfect.
Yeah, I have that on my Eero, and it gets very confused because everything has like SSID, not SSID, but MAC address randomization.
Mm-hmm.
So every like once in a while, I get an alert on my Eero app. It's like, hey, there's a new iPhone on your network. It's like, no, it's not a new iPhone.
Yeah,
it's the same one.
And then honestly, like, back when I first used it, I thought the Google Wi-Fi app was pretty good. Like, as apps, or as an interface for managing your Wi-Fi network goes, it was about as pretty as the app Apple made for controlling the Airport Express, which is saying a lot. Like, that was a very pretty app. It wasn't a great app from Apple, and I would argue that Google's app was not very good either. In terms of, like, it was so hard to find things, and it wasn't necessarily that useful. It was useful for a few things, but not necessarily great. And it hid too many things behind, like, lots of taps and kind of weird menu placement. Over time, the fact that it hid things behind a lot of taps and weird menu placement became more and more of a complaint. So,
yeah, and then they moved everything to the Google Home app, right?
Yep, and that has just outright ruined it, because stuff is even harder to find now.
That Google Home app, that is like Google's iTunes.
It is. Oh God, yes, that's such a good way to put it. I hate that app.
Good job. You made this horrific monstrosity of UX that should be like 10 separate apps.
Yeah, it is so telling that it has become their, like, it's everyone I know who uses it says it's the app that they really want to spend as little time as possible in. And I can't blame anyone for saying that. Plus, at this stage, it does so many things that I would argue, I think a lot of people would really like to have those functions on their computer, not on their phone.
Yeah. Yeah, there's never been a, like, web panel or anything.
Yeah. And that has absolutely, like, that has made me angry on many occasions.
That has been my constant struggle with smart home stuff, is because this is all born in the age where most people's main computers are their phones. There's just, like, not desktop software for a lot. Like, there is, like, I haven't had to use Google Home in a while. I mostly use Samsung Smart Things now, because, you know, it all hooks into I've got like 3 smart home things, so they work with whatever. And the Smart Things app is pretty good on Android and iPhone, but there's like a very limited Windows app, and that's it. And that Windows app is somewhat new.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I was saying, like, I can't do anything on my Eero router on my computer, which is very silly. And, you know, most of these systems are the same way.
Yeah, and they shouldn't be. They really, really shouldn't be.
You know what? I'm gonna write that down. I might write about that when I have fewer things to write about.
Corbin's list of editorials. It grows longer.
It's going. It's going in the pile. Yeah.
But it is a good editorial, honestly. Like, this is something I've wanted to write about for a long time, but I kind of just... I don't know. The weird thing is, now I'm thinking I might pitch it and write about it, too. Not like it'll hurt if we both write it. We both have very different takes on this, I think.
Yes, we are allowed to have similar opinions sometimes. That's fine.
But, yeah, I really don't want to have to use my phone for everything. Now, don't get me wrong. There is the other side of it where I think about all the times that I've worked on a Wi-Fi router. Or, well, a router in general, like the cable modem, or whatever.
You're like, You're like lugging the laptop around with the Ethernet adapter. Like, oh man, I get to go over here now.
Yep, exactly. As I sit in a uncomfortable chair next to the one spot on the wall where the modem's locked
hunched over on the floor. Yeah. Up on the ground.
Oh, I wish sometimes, and I'm not kidding, I have literally had, like, in hand, here's my laptop, and I'm typing on one-handed on the laptop, trying to type in, like, network addresses to ping and test things, and you know, this is connected by, like, a short Ethernet cable, or I'm messing with plugging things in with the laptop literally in hand. Like, that is a terrible experience. I will take a phone over that all the time. But 9 times out of 10, I can't use the phone for that stuff. So, yeah. And now you have to use a phone for certain things and a laptop for other things because nobody wants to sit there and type in, like, ping commands on a phone. So, yeah, I do not like where we're going with this stuff, or rather where Google wants us to go with this stuff, because it's not there yet. But,
yeah. And
this sort of, let's pretend we're there strategy is not really working.
Yeah, and the app stuff is weird because in addition to the power over Ethernet stuff, Amazon announced a Eero PoE gateway, which is like an actual, like, this goes in a server rack kind of thing, and it's got 20 Ethernet ports on it. Which, like, that's kind of weird to... Like, it's weird to me that they would release that, and maybe that has a web panel, and, like, if that does, could they bring that to all the other Eeros? But I don't know. Yeah, the gateway thing looks cool. Again, like, if I would probably buy something like that if I had a house. Like, that's what I would do it, because, like, I have considered, like, running Ethernet stuff in here. I'm just like, I don't know if I'm gonna be here in 6 months. It's not worth it.
No,
it's not a good time investment.
No, and that is definitely the biggest problem with any of this kind of stuff. You have to truly be committed to being in a spot for a while before you really want to start running cable, or at least running cable well. Don't get me wrong, the way my house is set up right now, it's not great. It's not well organized. It doesn't look the way it would be. I'd like it to. And honestly, like, there are spots, because kind of as a side effect of having moved some stuff at one point, a few spots have kind of just turned into, if you didn't know this backstory, you would just think, oh, here's a hoarder. The reality is, no, this is a person who just didn't have time to do anything with all the stuff that got moved in after a move. So a bunch of stuff got piled up in a spot. It's just gonna stay there, yes. Okay? But
I know that feeling. I finally hung up some posters a couple months ago that I've had for a year and a half. So
yep,
I'm there.
Yeah. So right now, I don't mind the fact that I have an Ethernet cable just kind of awkwardly running along a wall coming in here. And it's just conveniently been hidden behind a whole bunch of other stuff between several rooms away where the Ethernet actually comes in. And yeah, having to travel through multiple routers to get into this office. It's not a great network build. I'd like to fix it. I've always wanted to fix it. It's just not going to get fixed.
Yeah, so they did Eero stuff. They also announced a new Fire TV Cube, like the thing that looks like a Borg cube. They made a new one. And it's still like the Mac Daddy Fire TV streaming thing, which I'm not interested at all. Fire OS is the worst. Maybe it's better now. I haven't tried it in a while, but I have like zero interest there. I do like the idea of having like a smart, because like Google did like half of this where they have the Chromecast that can be controlled with a smart speaker, but this is all like in one thing. So it's like you have a Alexa speaker next to your TV that can also control the TV and play things on the TV, which is cool.
Yeah, this is what I remember. Everyone even wanted this to be what the Nexus Q. They wanted the Nexus Q to become that, and it didn't happen. They wanted, like, at various stages, people keep saying, "Hey, make such and such product that has all of these things combined," and Google never has, which kind of doesn't make sense. I mean, they have a lot of the stuff there, like a remote that can take voice commands, but that's not the same thing.
Yeah. This is a like actual Echo speaker you can shout at from across the room, which is cool. And this new one, it does, the 4K HDR stuff. They put another HDMI port on it. They say that you'll be able to, like, if you plug it into a cable box, their example was like you can tell Alexa to tune into a channel on the cable box you have connected over HDMI, which I don't know how well that works, but that's what they say will happen. What kind of bummed me out a little bit, and like the one thing that has slightly tempted me to buy Amazon stuff, was they have like, they highlighted like the cable TV integration. But one cool thing they had when the Cube was new was they had, do you remember the Fire TV Recast?
No, I do not.
It was they discontinued a couple months ago, but basically it was like a giant DVR that you plug a TV antenna into, and then you can stream your TV on any Fire thing or an app. There are a lot of these, but because Amazon made it, it like tied into the TV stuff a little bit better. And they just do not have that anymore, which is kind of a shame. Because I've looked at those products every once in a while, and they're always like not that great. Like, I don't love Amazon, but I think they would do software better than like random cable box manufacturer company. But yeah, so they've got a new Cube. They have a new Alexa car speaker thing, which is interesting because I think now that's like really the only option for having like a good microphone / voice assistant in a car that doesn't have those things. Because Google tried this a couple of years ago. I reviewed 2 of the like assistant car dongles, and I don't think that's a thing anymore. I don't know if anyone still sells them.
Well, what was really telling to me is Google didn't do a first-party device. They left that up to 2 other companies. Actually, 3 others. And they were all overpriced for what they were, and none of them seemed like they really accomplished that much. Like, it wasn't really clear what they were going to really do, other than just repeat what your phone was already doing.
Yeah, I had the Anchor one in my car for I think basically the whole time I had my Nissan Leaf, and then when I got my Kona that has Android Auto and CarPlay, so I didn't really need it. But in my Leaf, it was great because I had like the phone car mount and everything, but it could never hear my voice when I was driving. Like if there, like my phone just, if there was wind, if the windows were, even if the windows were up sometimes and I had like the AC on, it was like, oh, can't hear you, buddy. Hope you don't need to, hope you don't need that voice command. And this was really nice because it had way better microphones. And most of the time it worked while my phone was in the pocket. The power management stuff in Android broke that sometimes.
Yeah.
But it was better. And it was like $40 at the time, I think. So that was nice. And it's also a Bluetooth adapter, which I needed in my car anyway, because when I bought the car, it said it had Bluetooth audio. And then I learned when I got home that meant Bluetooth for phone calls.
Yep.
So,
yeah, a lot of car companies
anyway,
got real inventive about basically, as long as they had any Bluetooth radio somewhere in the car, they claimed they had Bluetooth, and it just didn't do anything.
Dirty lies. And that was a 2015 Nissan Leaf.
Yeah, that's a little embarrassing.
That is very embarrassing. That's almost as embarrassing as if like it still had an iPod dock.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Accurate, but ouch.
Yeah, so that's most of the Amazon stuff. I think they launched like new TVs. I don't really care about TVs. I just
yeah. Okay, so about that, I don't know how good their TVs are in terms of like image quality, so I'm not like judging them on that basis. But I will say this still bothers me so much that we don't really need a TV running Fire TV OS. All this is to me is like an excuse to sell a mediocre TV that runs your software. And again, I'm saying mediocre, but I don't know. Maybe they're really good displays. So I'm being kind of unfairly harsh. But I think most people agree we'd much rather have just a dumb TV that we plug smart stuff into, because we're going to update that smart stuff a lot more frequently. We're going to replace the hardware, those smart boxes. We're going to replace way more often than we're going to replace that TV. And that TV at some point is definitely going to stop getting updates. And it's before we stop using that TV. And that kind of bothers me. Yeah, I don't want that.
And ideally, like, Amazon is in the absolute best position to do something like that, where they make a TV that has like a little cubby with like an HDMI port in it, and you just plug in the new box when you're ready. Yep. Or just do like, you could even do a little bit smarter integration, like make a like module thing with like the power and everything in it. You just hook it in and you're done.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? You just said that, it just dawned on me. And this is a weird thought, but why is no TV maker, or why have TV makers not like created basically not a cubby, but sort of like a bracket, specifically like brackets on the back of the TV, specifically designed just for holding these devices? Increasingly it's making, I don't know, it feels like it would make a lot more sense, maybe not back of the TV, but just some sort of design to make it easier to plug in these types of things, because that's what most people have plugged into their TVs now. Almost every person has at least one smart streaming device plugged in, and then 2 game consoles or something like that. That's all people plug into these. And a few people, yes, use receivers and stuff like that, but they're in a very, very tiny minority at this stage. I don't understand why they aren't like maybe even reaching out to the companies and saying, hey, could you just design your boxes to fit this specific sort of shape or size, or connect to this type of mount? Because then if you do that, your thing will look fantastic on our TV, and we'll design a bracket that absolutely works with that thing to be compatible with you. Why is this not a thing? I don't get that.
And I remember in the, like, before there was a big ecosystem of Chromecast speakers, I remember there were a few speakers that had like a specific like cutout for you to put a Chromecast audio in, and then you could like run the cake kind of like that.
Yeah, there was only like 2 of them, but you know, it was a thing. Technically, it happened. For that matter, what I'd also kind of like an explanation on is, like, why are they not making TVs with HDMI ports that can just fully do everything? As in, power the dongle, give it Ethernet, give it all of the stuff. I want that. I don't like having to plug in a Chromecast Ultra or a Sabrina device, because screw their full long name. I don't want to plug that thing in separately from the TV. I just want to plug it into an HDMI port and let it be powered and let it have Ethernet and let it have everything. This is something that the TV should be supplying, not making us plug in another cable that also has another cable popping out of it. Like, that's not a good solution.
Yeah, and all the increasingly more of the dongles need more powered than the like little USB ports on the back of the TVs can power, so they're all running down the side to a power outlet. It's very fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I again, like that's always on my mind, like when I have this article open from Amazon's corporate blog where they're like, look at how sustainable we are. I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Like, like, how many people are buying smart TVs because you just don't want to update the old ones anymore? It's like and like they won't even do it in like a like dirty capitalist way where they make the TV and the ability to switch out the dongles, but it's like the little like special cubby version of the Fire TV is like $200.
Yeah.
But it's still cheaper than a TV, so they can like sell it. Like, they won't even do that. They're like, no, buy a TV. Which and again, like, the margins are never good on the TVs anyway. So I don't whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just constantly annoyed at this. Partially because I've got this problem now, where I've got a Samsung Smart TV and it's like fine, but I would like to use a Roku or Nvidia Shield or something that doesn't have a really laggy Hulu app, but it's like I'm out of HDMI ports and I'm still gonna have to use the TV UI for a couple things even if I get a different box.
Yeah.
So I'm just annoyed.
Yeah, and to a few of those points, one, just adding my own angle on it, I have a Sony Bravia that has Android TV on it, and I don't use that if I can avoid it. But I still use Android TV. Like, I have an Android TV box plugged into it, a Shield TV, because it's faster, it's smoother, it actually got updates past a certain point. In fact, it's still holding the record for most updated device in history. Like, this is a thing where I feel like universally most people do not actually like the operating system on their TVs. But that being said, I will grant I'm okay with having something on a TV just for the purposes of being a good menu system for the TV settings. The only thing is, I don't think I've really seen any of these operating systems are actually that nice of an interface for controlling those TV settings. They're okay, but they're not they're not better, and in many cases they're actually a little bit worse than the way TVs used to, like the older sort of quote-unquote dumb TV. They kind of had better interfaces. They were just custom, kind of bare bones interfaces, but they worked better. They were faster. Yeah.
It's very stupid. I hate these TVs.
Yeah. Technology has made this one thing worse.
Yeah.
And Carson, yeah, you're right. I should just say Chromecast from here on out. Chromecast I should say Chromecast 4K and Chromecast HD. Those actually should be my terms for them. Because the Ultra is only sold in the Stadia kit, and all the other Chromecasts are dead and gone.
Yeah. And I don't think there's anything else that Amazon talked. I mean, I know there's more, but I'm like, yeah, they had like a.
They didn't do anything else interesting.
No. Yeah, so that's fun, and I think I need to go actually. So I think I'm gonna now that I've complained about capitalism a few times and complained about Amazon specifically, my work here is done.
All right. Well, Carson, they don't even sell the Stadia kit anymore? I thought they did. Are they including the new Chromecast with it, or something else?
What's on the Google store? Smart home? Is that what it would be under? I see gaming. Yeah, there's. Oh wait.
I'm just searching for Stadia.
There is a play
so you
and
can
watch
buy the
with
controller.
Google TV. Yeah, I see a package with Chromecast with Google TV. I don't see the original with the Ultra. So they finally run out of those?
That'd be my guess.
That took them ages because the Ultra hasn't officially been available since the Google TV one came out, right? So those like 300 units of the Founders Edition have been sitting in that warehouse for a good long while. Yeah, Carson linked to the one I found, which is a bundle with the new Chromecast and the Ethernet adapter is recommended.
Okay. Don't get me wrong, I get it. Not everyone's going to use it, and in fact, a vast majority of people won't. But guys, it feels so cheesy not including that.
Was that not on the brick for the Ultra, or is it also an extra there?
I believe this is just a different brick. So
I know, but like when the Founders Edition.
Yeah. Well, the Ultra has always come with a brick that just had it. At least,
yeah.
You know what? Yeah, no, it does. Because at least my Ultra came with one, and that was part of the Stadia bundle. I didn't buy an Ultra separately. So, yeah. It's, I suppose it's possible they could have sold versions that didn't, but yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand this. Why not just ship it with the good brick in the first place? It can't cost that much more. And this is this avoids an e-waste thing in a big way.
Yeah, and because doesn't this Chromecast comes with a brick anyway, right? It has to. Too much out. Yeah, so you're making two. See, this is what always gets me. Again, another time where companies we're good for the environment. Wait a minute.
Yeah, we're good for the environment until you ask questions.
I know. This is like my my activation trigger for for capitalism complaining, because this is like this every time. It always boils down to this, or their version of where environmentally conscious is buying
carbon credits.
Oh, yeah, carbon credits, which is the most bullshit thing. Like, they don't matter. It's like, it's literally monopoly money for the environment. It doesn't mean anything.
Well, and as many people have also pointed out, 9 times out of 10, the carbon credits are actually just people saying, okay, we'll promise not to cut down the stuff we already weren't going to cut down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's like that's like the entire reason Tesla exists. It's because every other car manufacturer buys their EV credits or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. We have a very great system. And just don't think about too hard when companies are like, we're going to plant trees this year. It's like, great. How long does it take trees to grow? We will not have an Earth by then.
Yeah.
It takes a long time for them to grow.
But hey, you know, sometimes you don't have to think about these things, because companies also ruin capitalism by screwing over their employees.
That's true. You have much bigger things to worry about.
Like feeding your family and, you know, getting to go to the bathroom during work.
Yeah. Yeah. Just don't, you don't really need to think about all the trees going away when you're a part of a 15% workforce layoff, even though your company had record high profits. Future, sorry. Sorry. But I have a terrible cough today.
I mean, that actually applies to almost every company that has done layoffs in the last year.
Yeah. That's all of
them. Google is not exempt from this.
Nope. They're all guilty. Burn them all down. That's what I say. I'm very happy that I've been doing more. I think everyone watching probably knows, but Cody and I are in the middle of the Internet Explorer series on Tech Tales, and it's just increasingly turning into a rapid chain of events of the horrors of capitalism, and and how terrible companies can be, and it's great. It's really fun. It's all validating my own opinions. It's great.
I don't know that I would attach everything to capitalism on that one. Some of it is just really stupid decision making and competitiveness. And it's not necessarily capitalistic competitiveness. It's just like, we want to win because we want to win. There's definitely an element of we want to win just because we want to win. You can very much see it.
Yeah. It's really fun. I still don't know how many episodes there's gonna be.
I keep telling you, just start calling these seasons and number them as seasons.
Well, I'll probably do a little, like, I think I'm gonna do part 4 with you sometime soon, and I think that can just do a little break after that. We'll come back to Internet Explorer.
Oh, that's right. We did do 3 parts already.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought we'd only done 2. That one was short.
Well, not really, but
okay. It was a short recording. You just didn't have to cut much out of it.
Yeah. Let me see. If I go to my tracks, part 1 was 36 minutes. Part 2 was 53 minutes. And part 3 was 36.
Yeah, I think it was part 3. Well, it was one of the two, either part 3 or part 1. We did not spend that long recording it.
Yeah.
There were very few. There were relatively few mistakes, and not as much to comment on.
Yeah. So I think after the one we'll record, I'll do a little break, because I imagine some people are probably like, all right, can we talk about something else now? And I'm like, all right, yeah, we'll come back to Internet Explorer. And I've got shorter episode that will a shorter experimental episode that will also record soon. So.
Oh, is that going to be our
We'll see
movie
how that
review?
goes. That is a movie review, but I'm getting other people, Cody. I'm cheating.
Oh.
I'll get you in for another movie one. I just felt bad that I'm making you do all these, and then also like, come on, Cody, come on, do the movie one.
Well,
Watch the movie with me.
it all depends on which movie it is. I'm down to always babble about movies.
I will get you in future if the movie one works out. I don't know, it might be horrific. We'll see how it goes.
What concerns me is I still think that the first movie you're going to make me watch is Antitrust.
I mean, it'd be perfect.
No, I think we kind of have to. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that it's a bad movie. We just kind of have to watch it.
It's a great epilogue to the next one.
Which, by the way, as a side note, I actually do. I have taken the trouble to get it ready, so I have it ready to watch at a moment's notice.
Yeah, I don't want to say it, but I picked the first movie, and I convinced 2 other people to watch it. I've not seen this.
Can you tell me what it is?
Yeah, I DM'd it to
Okay. I was gonna say, with all this hype, and if I'm not gonna be part of it, I might as well at least know. Oh, come on! You're cutting me out of that? I actually saw this in theaters.
I mean, if you really want to, I can probably shove you in. There's gonna be 2 other people, so it might be a crowded recording, but I'm not against it. Could be like pizza party energy.
It probably depends on who the other 2 are.
It's Zach and Joe.
Mm-hmm.
So you can think about it. Let me know. So what was I talking about? Oh yeah, capitalism. But yeah, so that'll be fun. Also, yeah, working on a couple other things for Tech Tales. That'll be fun. And I'm still tired, so I'm probably gonna go now.
All right. Well, fine. Don't stick around and talk about iPad OS with me.
If I toss that in there, but yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Well, you basically just plugged Tech Tales for the last 10 minutes. So I was gonna ask if you
That's
had
true.
anything to plug, but nah, you got it covered.
I did. I worked that in magically.
Somehow, though, we have not managed to share any how to geek links today. So you technically have failed your obligatory corporate daddy plugging.
Yeah. I don't have any interesting insights into today's events or yesterday's.
There's that.
They just happened. You know, you got the new speakers. And the things that How to Geek is more excited about are things that are also not that interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
Like an article I wrote about Excel features is doing very well, but it's not a whole lot to discuss there. I just wrote an article about Outlook, which I'm sure will also do very well in the coming days. So.
All right. Well, dude, enjoy. I'm assuming pizza. I get the impression you're probably not going to make dinner.
I'm thinking about it. We'll see. I'll keep you informed.
Okay. All right, man. Well, take it easy. Have a good night, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Okay, bye.
Okay, and in case Zach makes a mysterious late appearance, I'll keep the chat window open and be ready for that. Let's see. So, also to Carson's comment, yes, I kind of generally agree. Like, without some aggressive capitalism, we really wouldn't have certain things. I think it's safe to say that we wouldn't have stuff. It's the example I always bring up. Google Maps. Like, if we didn't have one... So, come on. You did not need to respond to that Nest Hub. But, yeah, we really wouldn't have stuff like maps, at least not to the level we have, if it weren't for Google kind of operating in a very capitalistic way with it. And, you know, the same could be said for a lot of other projects out there. There's a reason. Hey, Carson, yeah, that's very true. Well, you can hate on it. I mean, go check out all the Linux purists. They all the GNU guys really hate capitalism, despite the fact that they still desperately rely on it for money. They do love to talk about how evil and bad it is. So, you know, you can be an anachronism if you want. It's okay. It's an option. But yeah. Anyway, so yep, work for open source. It is a thing some people do. But no, I'm not gonna sing the praises of capitalism entirely, because hey, it has done some bad stuff to us. Capitalism is part of the reason that there's a whole industry built around making games where game developers are getting paid on, I don't know what the average is now, but last time I checked, game developers are getting paid on average $30,000 to $40,000 less per year than other types of software engineers, despite the fact that the game developers typically were working like 70 hour work weeks. They were doing hard pushes for like weeks or months at a time, unlike a typical developer that might do like a hard push for a week. Game developers were getting fewer perks, actually often getting screwed out of the perks that the company typically should have given them. Well, perks and bonuses, and so on and so forth. Like, capitalism really screwed the gaming industry really hard. And it's largely because somebody out there knew, hey, there are these people who their passion is games. Obviously, to work on your passion, you're willing to accept less money and take other sacrifices that no one else in their right mind ever would. But yeah, that's probably a different discussion for another time. Oh, I just realized there was that topic I should have made Corbin stick around for. So Corbin brought up, and maybe I didn't read anything about this, so I'll probably just kind of skim over this for the quick coverage, but apparently Google has published a little bit more detail about how they're going to do the transition to Manifest v3. For those that don't know, Chrome extensions are sort of platform versioned by what they call manifest versions. I'm trying to think of how to explain this properly. When I say they're platformed, I mean this in the sense of like, this is actually, I don't really know how I want to explain that. We'll just say that every Chrome extension has to have a manifest file. That manifest file, just like on Android apps, it basically just spells out, here are the permissions that the extension needs. Here's the parts of the extension that run in this place with these rules, etc., etc. Anyway, they for many years operated on Manifest v2. It turned out to have a couple of very big oversights that for years they wanted to fix, didn't fix very quickly. Finally, they released Manifest v3 that fixed those issues. Yes, Carson, absolutely. Link going... Oop, damn it. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so yeah, I don't. Okay, it's not that long of an article. Anyway, the timeline that they're going for is in January of 2023. In Chrome 1.12, Chrome will run experiments to turn off support for Manifest v2 extensions in Canary Dev and beta channels. And then in June, 3 versions later, they're going to test doing this in the stable channel. And then in the Chrome Web Store, January 2023, they're going to make Manifest v3 a prerequisite for the featured badge. And they're only going to highlight extensions that pass a certain security level. Let's see. In June, so they're basically going to follow that same schedule for the store. They're no longer going to allow Manifest v2 items to be published with visibility set to public. All existing Manifest v2 items with visibility set to public at the time will have their visibility changed to unlisted. So in other words, you'll be able to update them if you already have them installed, and I'm assuming that means that if you have a link to them, you can still get them. But you won't be able to, but they won't show up in search, is my assumption. That's what that's specifically going to mean. And then January 2024, the infamous election year, following the expiration of the Manifest v2 enterprise policy, the Chrome Web Store will remove all remaining Manifest v2 items from the store. That's not that bad of a timeline. This actually seems like a pretty responsible progression. I've seen a lot of people complaining about this, and I'm betting there's probably a lot of reasons I don't know about why this is why a lot of people are really, really opposed to this. But this doesn't feel like they're pushing Manifest v2 out that quickly. So basically they're extending the timeline by about a year. Yeah, I was going to say, I thought this was supposed to go a lot earlier. I'm really okay with this. I don't see a reason to complain about this timeline. Except, well, I don't see a reason to complain about this timeline outside of the fact that I know there are some changes in Manifest v3 people don't like, and they want to hold on to Manifest v2 as long as possible. But in a private discussion I had a couple of days ago, I was theorizing that other browsers might try to use this shift from Manifest v2 to v3 as a method for sort of scalping users. Carson, as an end user, actually happy about some of the stuff in Manifest v3. As to all of the things I know about Manifest v3, with one exception, I agree. There is one thing that I do see a problem with, though I'm not sure if it even counts as a Manifest v3 thing. But yeah, I'll come back to that in a moment. But I was kind of kicking around this theory that anyone who is using a Chromium base for their browser, who supports extensions in Manifest v2 currently, I could see them waiting, not necessarily a long time, but kind of just waiting out like an extra 6 months with Manifest v2 support past where Google kills it, just for the purpose of being able to say, all you people, if you really, really want to keep using that one random extension that's no longer supported, we're the browser you should come to. And then after they've sort of scooped up everyone in the 6-month time period, then they'll do the same thing. They'll just end up dropping v2 also and shift to v3. hard to say with certainty. It's just kind of a loose prediction, but it sounds kind of it kind of sounds like something that I think would happen with a lot of browsers. Let's be honest, it's someone at Microsoft has to be thinking this. Let's see. Carson. Yeah, Manifest v3 generally sort of seems designed around some better performance, lowering the resources that extensions are likely to use, particularly the ad blocker, which is the one where that's also the catch for users, because it's there's already one ad blocker that published a v3 extension. I'm not sure which one that is, but for those that don't know, the ad blocker thing kind of became a mess. So the way that it works under Manifest v3 is basically the extension has to tell Chrome what domains or what path should be blocked, and they can do that pretty much at any time, but they will no longer be told when you're browsing to a new site. Well, I think you can still get that, but I'm not quite sure. But they won't be told when you're browsing to a new site, but rather so it's not on the extension to figure out if you're browsing to a site it wants to block, or if you're trying to block ads or something like that. It is now something that Chrome's going to do, and it just leaves it to the extension to tell Chrome what it wants to block. Now, the good side of this is it is less resource intensive. It takes a lot of performance issues off of the extension. As a matter of fact, you basically can run a single lightweight instance of the extension and not let the extension take up nearly as much in each instance in each Chrome instance. However, it has the very massive problem that Chrome sets a cap on how much can be blocked, and it is a cap that is well below the size of a lot of ad blocker lists. So it's not like ad blockers are just gonna be able to conveniently, casually wipe out stuff. And honestly, like, this is creating an opportunity for ad companies to basically just buy a crap load of domains, have them all kind of quietly serve randomly, and as long as across several companies there are just so many different domains and IPs, if it's just spread across so many that it goes above the list, the capped size, then you pretty much win. Like, it'll make ad blocking too unreliable, too unpredictable, too ineffective, and in theory, people just stop doing it. That's not obviously that is not how it's going to play out. My theory is that this is just promoting. Ultimately, it's just promoting that a whole bunch of people are going to start using stuff like NextDNS or various DNS like privacy services, blockers, whatever, and or they're going to start using some of the other hackish methods for doing ad blocking, stuff like setting up proxy servers that do the ad blocking for you, or VPNs, or let's see, DNS, VPN, and proxies. I think those were the three main ways. That, or people will just start switching to other browsers that do not cap at this, or their caps are set higher, or something. Let's see. Okay, Carson provided the link, and that's for AdGuard. So I can just skip to the conclusion, eh? Despite the limitations of V3, AdGuard in V3 still protects against ads and tracking quite well. It blocks requests to trackers proactively, hides banners, social widgets, and other annoying elements, blocks adverts on video sharing platforms, including YouTube. Although the experimental extension is not as effective as its predecessor, most users won't feel the difference. The only thing you might notice is ad flickering due to the lag in the application of cosmetic rules. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So they're blocking. They're not blocking on the connection. They're just blocking on the render, or rather, they are letting it render and then removing it. Which, yeesh, kind of don't like that. That's honestly, that is half the reason I use an ad blocker. Is, well, okay, no, let me come back to that. The goal with this prototype is to test the new approach and get your feedback, so please try it out. By releasing an extension built with the Manifest v3 today, first among developers of ad blockers, we can say that we've met the challenge that Google posed to us. There's still a lot of work to be done, but we can already claim that even after the discontinuation of Manifest v2, Google Chrome users will be able to protect themselves from ads and trackers with the AdGuard browser extension. Okay, so what I'm assuming that they're doing, Carson, conclusion doesn't tell much. I disagree. Actually, I mean, I can make some pretty good assumptions based on what they're saying here. Maybe I'd have to read it or maybe I'd be wrong with my assumptions if I read through it, but tell me if I'm getting any of this wrong as I say it, but I'm assuming what they're doing is they're prioritizing specifically the privacy stuff when they give a list to Chrome saying block this thing, block that thing. So they're probably not actually blocking the ads themselves very often, but they're blocking any trackers that are associated, because that is a shorter list. And that is the thing that matters for privacy. Then when it comes to the ads, they're just actively hiding them. Possibly that involves reflows. Maybe it's not reflowing. I don't know. Anyway, it's gonna lead to the visual glitches and things like that, and then blocks advertisements on video sharing platforms, including YouTube. That one I'm a little unclear on. I'd have to look into how it's doing that. I have a feeling that that's probably also part of their list that they're handing to Google to actually block. Hard to say. Anyway, Control F cosmetic. Okay. Okay. So declarative rules. Before Manifest v3 was introduced, the filtering engine was dynamically built from filters downloaded from the server by the extension. Further, the rules which made up the filters were applied at different stages of page loading. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that my guess is right here. For example, rules could have been triggered before the browser sends a request. Within the onBeforeRequest event, the browser asked the extension what to do with a particular request, and the extension reacted dynamically by blocking or redirecting it. The cosmetic rules were applied a little later. Okay, so, yeah, here's the key part. Now that Manifest v3 has taken effect, the onBeforeRequest method can no longer be applied. Instead, Chrome suggests using the declarative net request API, with which the right to modify requests is given to the browser. The extension only announces a set of declarative rules according to which the browser will modify or block network requests. Okay. Let's see. Cosmetic rules that are loaded dynamically. When the browser stops the service worker, the extension goes into kind of a sleep mode. The declarative rules work, but the cosmetic rules that are loaded dynamically do not. For the extension to be functional, something must wake up the service worker. It can be loading a page or a message that has been sent to the service worker. When the service worker is waking up, the extension starts to read filtering rules from the repository and process them so that it can then find them quickly. During this time, for 1.5 to 2 seconds, the extension does not apply cosmetic filtering, but ad requests are blocked by the browser itself. Then the engine launches and the ads disappear. Okay, I think they misspoke there. We plan to reduce the wake-up time of the service worker and strive to move most of the cosmetic rules to the content script, which works in the context of the web page and is not getting killed every minute. But for some cases, we will still need the service worker. Okay. Yeah, so they're trying to push 2 different methods for making ads disappear, but the key issue here is the ads do still show up. Now, that's good for sites. It really is. It's bad for users for obvious reasons. So over the years, there have been 3 reasons that I have ever really wanted to block ads, and most of them come down to, funny enough, well, it's some portion of sites that I visit, naturally. That's going to be true for everybody. But also working for a site that had a pretty AP has a lot of ads. I don't know a polite way to say this. AP has a lot of effing ads. And it did before Valnet, it does after Valnet. There you go. A lot of ads. Whole lot of ads. Huge numbers of ads. Including an auto-playing video that just does not effing belong. So, the thing about when you work writing for a site, you have a tendency of actually opening up a lot of tabs, especially back to the same site that you work for. And you might keep them open for various reasons. I have done this a lot. This is a lot of RAM and a lot of processing that kind of just keeps going. And especially if a tab gets into kind of a runaway process, which happens a lot with ad networks. Yeah, I have over the years found that keeping tabs open to AP became a problem. So I got I got an ad blocker. Like for a while, I actually wasn't using one, but because of writing for AP, honestly, my computer for many years was it was an old MacBook Pro, and because it didn't have enough RAM, the processor was getting at a certain point way too slow for keeping that site open. I actually literally had no choice. I had to run an ad blocker because if I didn't, the computer slowed to such a crawl it was completely unusable. Carson, I have no idea. People have complained about that video for so long, and it's not like it's making them any money. No one can seem to explain to us why it's there, but it's there, and it seems like it's not going anywhere. Anyway, yeah, so purely because I had no choice. If I didn't run an ad blocker, I could not have worked for the site. It would have been genuinely impossible to keep all the pages open that I needed to keep open. It would have been so near impossible to do the work I needed to do in a reasonable amount of time. I had to run an ad blocker. The thing is, what they're describing here is quite literally, we're going to let the ads load and then make them disappear a second or two later. That would reduce the amount of page bloat by a little bit, because they're still going to block trackers and a couple of other things, but they're not going to be blocking the part that actually took a lot of RAM. That stuff's just going to be made to disappear, and whether or not it unloads, I don't think it's going to. I'm pretty sure it's going to remain technically part of the DOM. So that's not great. That's really, really not great. That kind of makes me feel like they're gonna screw it up. And I think it's also worth noting, ads, or rather ad companies, are going to look at how, in this case, AdGuard, but they're probably, obviously other companies are going to, or other ad blockers are going to do the same kind of thing. The ad companies are going to look at what they're doing and probably put countermeasures in to make sure that they can't just casually remove ads that easily. Or they'll deploy countermeasures that make it harder to do reliably, because this is going to be a lot easier to work around. Like previously, the only workaround you could really do is just create new domain names and new IP addresses. And you know, the ad companies would just update their list, and whatever it costs you to get around their stuff for a day or a week or whatever, it would just cease to work. Now, I mean, this is the kind of thing where your ad, the ads that are being served are coming with JavaScript. That JavaScript is going to probably have a lot of methods or a lot of ways that it can make itself seem dynamic, harder to detect. It can bury itself in weird ways. That's going to make ads 10 times more resistant to an ad blocker. And again, this isn't even the part that I'm mostly worried about. The part I hate is it's going to suck more RAM. It's going to suck more processing power. This is already the problem on some sites. I mean, again, go to the site I write for. Tell me that, watch your activity or your process list when you do, and just tell me that is not eating a lot of RAM. Tell me it is not consuming a lot of resources, and that's before the ads have countermeasures to try to hide them from ad blockers. When Manifest v3 comes in and it is hardcore in, the ad blockers are not going to be able to prevent all of this, which means that those companies will definitely be trying to use countermeasures, and then you're going to have just dozens of extra scripts running on every single page load. That it's going to be the ad companies running scripts trying to hide themselves and make them harder to detect and do anything about, and it's going to be the ad blockers running more increasingly advanced scripts trying to detect everything and generally not being able to. Give it time. This is going to get ugly. I genuinely think this is going to become a big problem. It's probably going to take a year, maybe 2, for it to get really bad, but it's going to get there. Honestly, I don't think it's going to take that long. I think we're looking at like 6 months tops, and then it's going to be basically a war between the ad blockers and the ad companies. Not like we haven't already had kind of a war between them, but it's going to get worse. So yeah, I like a lot about Manifest v3, but I do think that they screwed up with this particular decision. It's gonna go badly. But hey, it is what it is. So we'll just have to see what happens. I had kind of a theory. I think what they probably need to do is raise the cap on how much can be blocked. But what I kind of came up with this alternate idea where I think what might need to happen, or what would have been the better approach, is to allow ad blockers to run in basically a sandbox mode. Allow them to inject a script that does not have any ability to communicate back out of the sandbox. So there's no network connections, no nothing. It can be handed, it can basically be handed a list for the like blocking list, and it can be handed like settings. it can read these things. Otherwise it should have no connection to the outside world. It should be able to report back about what locations were blocked. But it should just basically be a script that runs in a sandbox that is allowed to determine which things to block per network request. That would have been the right way to do this. It would have been pretty efficient. Not as efficient, but pretty good. And it would have allowed for ad blockers to continue using a full-size list instead of hindering it in all the dumb ways. And you can still do all of the other things. Like, it's not like Google's taking away other types of blocking. Carson, I would absolutely pay like $5 a month for ad-free web browsing on every site, or at least all the news sites. Yeah, I like that idea. I would probably do that. To me, there's one problem, one very obvious problem. Yes, mobile included, 100%. And that's kind of almost a thing. Like, I would do it. I would probably pay $5 a month for ad blocking if it was just for mobile. But obviously I want it on desktop too. But, you know, I read enough news that would matter. But that being said, like, I don't think there are enough people willing to do that, and that's kind of the problem. And the bigger issue, there's so many news sites that are scrambling to get your clicks, your money. I could easily see that not being enough. Like, there are people who want this, but sites make so much money off of those ads. Like, if a single article turns out to just absolutely kill it and go viral, the amount that they're going to get out, like their share of that $5 is going to be too small. Meanwhile, little tiny sites are going to get almost no share of that anyway. So yeah, it's not going to work out. Or at least I tend to think it won't work out. The problem with something like that is it ends up working kind of the same way that I've complained TikTok works. TikTok's creator fund has this problem where it seems like a good way of paying people for a while. But as more people come to the platform and as more people become successful, the creator fund doesn't really increase in the amount of money, but the number of people who have their hand in that pot does increase. And so the creator fund ultimately becomes a bad thing. That's kind of what I see happening with subscriptions. Carson, what is this? Scroll. Oh, I definitely remember Scroll. AP tried making Scroll work. Or technically it did make Scroll work. It just, from what I understand, it did not do well. Let's see. Yeah, anyway, we didn't bring in very much money off of Scroll, at least not to my knowledge. You think there just weren't enough news sites on it? That was part of it, yeah. I know there were a decent number, but yeah, it's the thing is, nobody wanted to pay $5 a month to have Scroll take some of the ads out of some of the sites. Very notably, that was one of the issues, is some sites used more than just the ad networks that were kind of supported or covered. Or, oh wait, no, sorry, I'm conflating two things. But yeah, there were some sites that had so many more ads that when they did the breakdown, it became very abundantly clear they were not making good. They weren't making good enough money off of the visitors they were getting, at least not compared to the ads that they had been serving. And then you factor in that there were a lot of people. Well, okay, there's another dynamic here too, but I'll get to that in a second. But you factor in there just weren't enough people subscribing. It wasn't very appealing when as a user to go out there and say, okay, I want to pay these sites to not see ads. Well, okay, that managed to make 30% of the sites I read ad free. But now I have the other 70% that are not ad free. I still need to use an ad blocker. Well, if I'm already using an ad blocker, why am I paying to block ads on just some of these sites? Why shouldn't I just let the ad blocker block all of them? This was the logic a lot of people applied. And as a result, Scroll was kind of doomed to failure anyway, because they couldn't get every site on board. Let's see. Then there was also the fact that some sites, I'm not naming names, I'm not talking about AP, though one could certainly see why one might think I were. But I don't know if I got all those words right. One might think that I were. Anyway, whatever. There is also the problem where technically, if a site wants to encourage people to start subscribing to Scroll, there's one way to do that. Increase the number of ads on a page. Make it egregious to the point that people want to subscribe just to get away from ads. The irony to that is, by showing more ads, you make more money, and at a certain point, like your incentive for people to subscribe becomes your incentive for people to keep seeing ads. So why be on Scroll? Like, if people are going to see your site and you would actually make more per view by just showing more ads, a lot of site owners saw that as the obvious choice. So they weren't really inclined to incentivize people to go subscribe to Scroll either. So yeah, I liked it. I liked what they were trying to accomplish, but I don't think this is ever going to catch on, and that's kind of the problem. This is just never really going to happen. And yeah, you're linking to the stuff how obviously Scroll got picked up. Let's see. Oh, Carson, they base it on the time people are spending reading the ad-free articles. By visiting Twitter Blue publisher sites, subscribers help support the publishers they read and not the ones they don't. Yeah, it sounds like a good idea, but now you're also attaching it to Twitter Blue, which is kind of weird. I mean, that's technically better, but all that gets made messier by the fact that Elon Musk is possibly going to end up with Twitter. I don't think he will, but you know, in the hypothetical, let's say he does. Yeah, I just don't feel like it's a good story. Let's see. Sorry, I was just really quick. I was thinking I wanted to take a quick or figure out what it is I was messing with. Okay, so I've mentioned dozens of times how I always seem to have something in my hands that I'm messing with currently, and you may have seen this flash in front of the camera a few times. I've just had a cooking knife a ceramic, cheap, well, fairly cheap ceramic cooking knife. Yeah, I just had this in my hands. I've been fiddling with it practically this whole stream. If it wasn't that, it was, for a while I was also messing with the bountying balls, but yeah, mostly this knife. No good reason. I haven't cut myself, so, you know, it's, I'm not being totally incompetent. And what the, oh, David, nice nice word to accidentally leave out. And I disagree. I see nothing wrong with playing with knives. That would be nice if they were balanced a little better. This one is only really balanced when the sheath is on. The moment you lose this sheath, it is not balanced at all. I have to hold it down with the thumb, and it's, yeah. Carson, it looks like a decent amount of sites. Yeah, that's, oh, actually that's not that many sites. It's a fair number, but it is fewer than I thought it was gonna be. I'm just ballparking, but that looks like maybe about 100. And I could be wrong, but let's see. So 9 to 5 is on there. Multiple 9 to 5s are on there. I think that's also worth noting. I know they're technically different sites, but they're kind of not. Oh, Mac Rumors. That's nice. It is a whole lot of tech sites. That much I notice. There are a few... there are a few big social sites, a few big news sites. Oh, yeah, you guys can't see that. Whoops. Yeah, Verge is on there. But yeah, it kind of looks like, and of course AP's not on there anymore. Yeah, it's a decent list. Like I said, I'm gonna guess about 100 sites on here. Some of these are relative no names. Some of them are pretty big, obviously. Just to the ones that I see, it's probably about half tech sites, maybe 30%, 20 to 30% are politics, and the remainder are lifestyle, entertainment, trends, stuff like that. Roughly. Maybe it's a little more politics than I thought. Not by a lot, but... And to be fair, I'm counting like Reuters as politics, even if it's kind of not. We'll say politics and business, I guess. So it's not bad. It just doesn't seem good enough. It's not good enough for what they're trying to accomplish. So, the Washington Post. They got the Washington Post. Yeah, I saw that in there. Did I also see? Maybe not. Yeah, I saw Daily Beast, Salon, Variety. Oh, Business Insider. Which, but still technically a pretty big name to have on your list. Yeah, as I look through this, there are definitely big sites. No question to it. There's some big sites in here. You know, as I think about it, like 5 of these are 9 to 5 sites. For anyone that doesn't know, like Drone DJ is part of the 9 to 5 family. And they have toys, Google, Mac, and I thought there was one other. But yeah, there are quite a few 9 to 5 sites in this list. Oh yeah, they have the space site now too. So yeah, it kind of feels like this isn't really making the impact they wanted. Yeah, I would like Scroll to have been more successful, but this is not. This just isn't gonna do it. You gotta have much deeper buy-in, and they just didn't have it. So yeah, it's kind of a shame, but I don't think there's really any way that they were ever going to be successful. I remember saying that back then. It was an admirable goal, even though it was also I hated the way that they ran it before. That was one of my problems with it. It had this really, really terrible extension that stuck a bunch of crap on the page. I didn't want anything to do with that. So, while writing for AP, or when we first introduced Scroll, the writers at AP actually were given, I think it was 3 months or 6 months, maybe, I don't know, maybe it was a year, of free Scroll. So they just wanted to kind of promote it to the writers, so they gave us all like basically a free subscription for a while. And continuing after the free subscription was over, anyone who worked for AP was basically given kind of a token that would ensure that they didn't get ads on AP. So this was a thing that technically all of us had, or all of us could have. But I hated their extensions so much that I kept running an ad blocker. It had nothing to do with anything else. I couldn't stand their extension because it had like a floating button, always visible, and it was just kind of annoying, and it seemed to be slowing down the site a lot more than it should, or slowing down the tabs. So yeah, I couldn't use it. I couldn't stand to use it at all. So I think I only had it for maybe a week. I don't think it was even that long. And I know that they eventually fixed their extension and got rid of that. They eventually did a lot of things to improve it, but it wasn't good enough. Let's see. Okay, just closing that and that. Okay. Carson, you thought they did it by cookies, which is how it works on mobile. Yes, they do it by cookies now. It used to, well, okay, so it was it was a cookie that handled this, but it was, in order to control it or manage it or do anything with it, you had to have an extension installed. Oh no, sorry, what am I saying? No, it wasn't an extension. No, it was a script that was on every page. That's what it was. So yeah, when you went to the page, if you had the cookie with your scroll token in it, then it just loaded the script for Scroll. I was I don't remember if I was actually blocking the script or what, but yeah, I couldn't stand whatever it was. It was sticking something visible on the screen, and I couldn't stand it. It had to go. Regardless, like I said, I wanted to see them succeed. I just didn't want to actually use their product. So yeah, anyway. It's 5 o'clock. Okay, what do we want to hit here? Yeah, Austin's link, that was for the Razer Edge 5G. Yeah, so I did see that. I thought, some part of me feels like we already talked about this, maybe not. So yeah, it's, Razer is pushing out an Android device that is basically a, to my understanding, it is not that different from, say, a Switch in just like being a large, clunky gaming device. Obviously different internals and stuff like that. Different overall design. Holy wow, that needs to be turned down. That was loud. They're of course hyping the Qualcomm chip that they're using. They're positioning this to some extent for... Wow, they did not show off a lot in this very, very dark video. But it has triggers. It has a large-ish display. You can just kind of tell. It has hand grips. Like, this is meant to be a Switch competitor. Switch, Steam Deck, whatever. Oh, a different thing? What's this one about? I didn't see that link. When did that happen? Huh. Was that... Oh, it was in the YouTube chat. Okay. Huh. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, that kind of got mixed up in the discussion of Scroll. That's why I missed it. Okay. Wow. That's some balls. That's some big, steep swinging balls right there to take credit for Google adding iMessage reactions to Android. But okay, so as spotted by David Emile, Apple's iOS 16 all new features page lists the following addition for the Messages app. SMS tapbacks on Android. React to SMS messages with a tapback and a corresponding emoji reaction will appear on recipients' Android devices. So they're listing this as a feature of iOS 16. There's a lot of problems with the way Apple lists its features. This is one of them, but man, this is an inventive decision to brag about this. So they're taking credit for that. While Apple's description is reflective of the end user experience, iMessage reactions on Android are not the result of the iPhone's new operating system or anything Apple did or contributed. They don't know that. I mean, we know with fairly clear certainty that things Google did were done
alone, without the help of Apple. We do not know that once Google did those things, we do not know that Apple didn't make adjustments to either improve compatibility or make it less likely to screw up Google's attempt to fix this or anything like that. You can't say Apple did nothing unless you know for sure Apple did nothing. Let's see. One possible explanation is that Apple's marketing copy is conflating the Google feature with a similar one added by iOS 16. If an iPhone owner is in a group chat with Android and other iOS users, all messages are sent via SMS, including of iMessage, instead of iMessage. Before iOS 16, tapbacks would be sent as SMS. In those cases, iOS 16 now, like Google, converts tapbacks for iPhone users so that just the emoji appears. However, if that is the feature Apple is describing, it does not appear on the page. The copy would not need to mention Android. Okay, wow, that was a hard couple of sentences to parse. But okay, so they might actually be describing a thing that is their own work. I think 9 to 5 is conflating, or either explaining this poorly or just wrong. Technically, they might not really be taking credit for Google's thing. They're just taking credit for producing the same end result. SMS tapbacks on Android react to SMS messages with a tapback, and a corresponding emoji reaction will appear on the recipient's Android devices. Apple's literally using the SMS tapback emojis that Google had to hard code into Google Messages as an iOS 16 feature. Okay, yeah, I'm assuming this part. One possible explanation is that that Apple's marketing copy is conflating the Google feature with a similar one added by iOS 16. If an iPhone owner is in a group chat with Android and other iOS users, all of them get SMS instead of iMessage. Before iOS 16, tapbacks would be sent as SMS. In those cases, iOS 16, like Google, converts tapbacks to iPhone users so that just the emoji appears. However, if that is the feature Apple's describing, so Apple did create a feature. They might just be talking about that. This could be like a mislabel, or not even a mislabeling. It's just a poorly explained labeling of a feature. I'm not sure that this article is really that right. They're kind of I mean, strictly speaking, it looks like because Apple's it's not even fair to say Apple's ripping off what Google did, because technically Apple's just doing what they should have done to begin with, which was a basic implementation. Yeah, I don't think that they can make the assertions they're making. 9 to 5 is kind of taking the worst version of what this story can mean and choosing to write that as if it's confirmed, and I don't think they can do that. Not ethically in this case. But that is interesting. So they're basically just trying to invalidate the work Google did and say that they're trying to be better, I guess. It doesn't really mean much. It's still a mess. Yeah, I didn't know about that either. I hadn't heard about it, but you know, I'm not an iPhone user, and I really haven't been messaging anybody who's an iPhone user in a very long time. For what it's worth, I really don't hang out with too many people locally these days. And of all of my friends, everyone I communicate with is either an Android user or I don't send messages, like phone messages, to them. If I'm doing anything, I'm emailing them if it's a more of a working kind of thing, or I'm using like a different chat app, usually Discord. At this stage, it's usually going to be Discord. So yeah, I feel like this war really is going to result in kind of the Blu-ray versus streaming outcome. Like, Blu-ray might technically have some advantages, but streaming came in at just the right time to make it irrelevant. I really at this stage do think that we're getting kind of that same outcome here, where no one's gonna care about iMessage or RCS or SMS or MMS in like two to 3 years. I think all of these things are going to kind of die off, because at some point it's just going to be better using something else. Carson, but it does look like bad wording on the marketing part. Yeah, that's probably what it is. And strictly speaking, that's not necessarily bad wording on the marketing part. SMS tapbacks on Android react to SMS message. Oh yeah, okay, sorry, the marketing department did explain it wrong, because they're saying it's on Android. It should be for Android. That's literally yeah, it literally, they just got one word wrong. If they changed it to SMS tapbacks for Android, it would be correct. But this isn't happening on Android, it's just happening for communications to Android. That fixes the whole thing. It's just technically a bad marketing copy. So 9 to 5 and David Emil, and I'm sure everyone else covered this too, because of course they would. Technically, they're all probably covering a thing that was just basically a grammatical error, and they're accusing Apple of taking credit for something. I mean, Apple is definitely taking credit for stuff that they shouldn't have in the past, but usually it's a little more warranted than this, or a little more obvious that they're kind of just trying to steal something. In this instance, I don't think that's what it is. I think they really did just look at what Google did and said, sure, yeah, let's kind of implement our own thing to make their implementation less relevant. Yeah, this is dumb. But it is funny. It's kind of funny because at this stage we're really deeply into sort of the good old Mac versus PC like wars. The fanboys are back at it, because they're the people who hate Apple for pushing iMessage, and they're the people who don't care. They just love iMessage. And everyone's gonna get very emotional about their takes on which side they're on. Okay, well, that's a thing. I at this stage, please just let RCS. RCS is never going to succeed at this stage unless it gets legally mandated. It's just never going to happen. So you know what? I do agree. At some point, we kind of need to just find something else. not give up on, or not give it. Obviously, we shouldn't give in and go accept iMessage. We shouldn't all go get iPhones, but we're just gonna have to face facts. RCS is not gonna happen. Let's see. So I can close that. I'm gonna go back to the Razer thing. I don't have a lot to say on this either. To me it's interesting Razer's trying this. They're trying to do a gaming device. I appreciate that. I want companies trying stuff. I just don't know that this is going to do any better than any of the others. I want it to. I'd like it to. It just doesn't feel like it will. Plus, it's in collaboration with Verizon and Qualcomm, which... okay, the collab with Qualcomm is fine. The part where this is a Verizon device, I think that's going to hurt. I mean, it's a larger device because it has, obviously, the physical differences. But to me, that just means they have a little bit more room to fit in antennas and make this thing capable of working with any carrier. That's what they should probably be. I can't speak. That's what they should be doing. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't have a lot to say on this. I would like to play with it. I kind of want to see this thing in action, but I don't have high hopes. I don't think that this is going to set any big new standards for gaming with an Android device. If anything, and we've said this how many times, I think the biggest problem really comes down to there aren't a lot of games that are designed for this kind of device. And without games for this kind of device, a lot of people are just going to keep using a regular phone because a regular phone will cut it. I mean, you know, it's not quite the same thing, but like I've mentioned before, this cheap Revel 6 Pro honestly plays Apex Legends well. That's kind of saying a lot. And when you factor in all of the things that kind of are functional advantages to just having good devices out there instead of relying specifically on anything else. Or, sorry, without relying on a device that is custom made for gaming. What I think, the only device that I could see possibly standing a chance, and you guys I'm sure know where I'm gonna go with this. It's gonna have to come from like Sony. They're gonna have to make a new Xperia Play, and they're gonna have to bring a bunch of old PlayStation games, like PS1 and PS2 games. Put those on Android. Like, port them over, not like real ports, but you know, some sort of a good emulation mode that runs on the device. Make a good Xperia Play device. You need to have that huge library of content to make it appealing, because without it, who's gonna buy this device? Who wants? How much was this thing again? Did they have a price? No, I guess not. That's a shame. I would have loved to have a price for this. But yeah, if you're not gonna have that big, huge library of content, I just don't think it's gonna do well. It just doesn't make sense. Austin, they should have a Wi-Fi only model too, based on benchmarks. Oh, so benchmarks have already kind of hit for this thing, and it looks like there's a Wi-Fi model. I take that to be your meaning. Hopefully, yeah, that would make sense. I don't know. I just don't see something like this working unless there's a big content library to go with it. And if there's a big content library to go with it, even that I think is a stretch. It like what Sony should do, or what I'd love to see Sony do. I don't know that this would succeed, but I'd like to think it would work. It's gonna sound bad because this is almost the Chromebook strategy, but they should come out with a device, Wi-Fi only, that is an Xperia Play. Work out whatever you need to in order to be able to offer games, all downloadable, and include something in the phone that makes it so the games only really want to play on that phone. And market it as kind of your new PSP kind of a thing, like a PSP Android, PSPA, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, market it that way, but then market it as also being able to play Android games and has the Play Store. It will be an Android device through and through. It will have a custom launcher, a very, very custom launcher, but it is a Wi-Fi device. It is a full-on, no questions asked. This is designed to be a gaming device. It plays on Wi-Fi. You could have an LTE or 5G model. No problem. Do it. But, you know, market it as that, and then also be clear that it's going to get some original stuff that is designed just for that was never on the PS2 or PS1 or maybe PS3, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure that it would have the power for that, but market it as a device that can play Android games too. And maybe even come out with an SDK and encourage Android game developers to work with it. Maybe even pay some of them to do extra work. Try to make good use of a platform like this, and there's a chance that it would do okay. I think that's the only company that really could do this. Maybe Microsoft could do it, maybe Nintendo could do it. But it has to be a company with a big library of games to work with. I suppose it could be one of the other game studios, but they're not hardware makers, so that probably wouldn't work. In theory, you could have a few game studios maybe team up with a hardware maker, and they could all kind of offer their own games that way. Imagine if Ubisoft pops up and they're like, hey, what do you think about having Assassin's Creed on your phone? Here, buy this like $800 gaming phone, which isn't even a phone, it doesn't take calls, but you can play all of the good games on it, and blah blah blah. I don't know, it's the only way I could see this being possible. Carson, Wi-Fi model only works with Verizon Fios. I love that. Yeah, I don't see this working. Sorry, Razer. I want to believe in you. I want to try this out. I really do. I bet it's actually really good. Genuinely, like, I think this will do very, very good in terms of like quality. Razer doesn't have the best quality, but they have pretty good quality. I think they have the right idea. I think they're putting a lot of good hardware into it. That doesn't fix the problem, though. What the hell? I just happened to glance at my email and it looks like my TikTok account got a new follower, but I only have Well, it must be a spam follower or something. Maybe it's on the other account I created by accident. Who knows? Might look into that later. One of these days I need to start making TikToks just for the hell of it. Okay, so I think last topic, unless someone has something really interesting. Last topic, just because iPad OS 16 beta brings Stage Manager to older iPad Pro models. Yeah, so I was just gonna say, I think that means they technically dropped the M1 chip requirement, and yep, that's evidently what they did. Okay, so they're basically pushing their multitasking experience to non-M1 models, which, yay, they should. I didn't think it made sense before that they didn't have that, because honestly, it really, like, they had obviously the hardware capable of doing this without bad frame drops or anything. It just seemed like they were doing it to artificially limit people's ability to use a new feature, which would ultimately just be focused on selling newer models of the iPad. It does kind of suck that this is focused on just the Pro. I would have liked to see this apply to more versions of the iPad, but alright, fine. Maybe that's a screen size kind of issue. And this doesn't, I don't think this necessarily precludes other iPads from getting it. It's just, it might not. Yeah, this won't necessarily preclude other iPads from getting it. It's just, right now, it's only for the Pro. And I have a feeling, I doubt it's going to go to anything else, but that could be it. Let's see. Federico, of course, disabling it. Oh, it crashes a lot. Yikes. Okay, that's not great. Okay, I wonder if maybe they implemented using features that were only available in the M1 chips, and as a result, they're trying to re-implement stuff in software that previously was hardware based. That might explain this. And if they're doing that, that actually would explain a lot. If they're, okay, so if they originally wrote Stage Manager to take advantage of some hardware features, and now they're re-implementing it to focus on, or they're re-implementing in software form some of those features, yeah, that would really explain why they originally had it limited to just M1 models. And if they're pushing to the Pros, chances are that may not even have to do with performance. That, and you know, I haven't read this whole article, so I don't know, but that may not be a performance issue. What might be happening is they're picking the model that the fewest people own, and they're spreading the feature there first to see how well it works, and if people have complaints, if people do like it, maybe they'll spread it to more devices later. If people don't like it, they might pull it back off the Pros, or I doubt they'll pull it from the Pros, but they might just never extend it beyond that. And then in a couple of years, most people won't be using those Pros anymore anyway, so it won't matter. Everyone will move to M1 models. Or rather, they won't be supporting those other models, so it won't matter. So it's one of those few instances where I look at Apple doing a thing and say, you know, hey, they're trying to update old devices with new features. That's something they're not always reliable for doing, but it's good when they're doing it. Let's see. Okay, I thought I was going to have more to say on this, but I kind of don't. In the meantime, let's see. While I didn't technically say 15-minute warning, we're kind of counting it. But I am going to sidestep needlessly over to saying, did you guys check out the Deadpool teasers? Come on. Don't they look good? They look so good. I mean, I know not everyone's gonna love Deadpool. Not everybody's a fan. Even I think the movies aren't as good as they're made out to be. Like, they're good. I enjoy them. The Last of Us teaser also, yeah. I'll get to that one too. But you know, the initial tease that revealed that they're going to bring back Wolverine as or in Deadpool, like that was just some top-notch teasing right there. They played that so well, and you know, Ryan Reynolds, hard not to like. And just asking, you want to play Wolverine one more time? And he's like, yeah, sure. That's great. I mean, it's just pure schlock, and it's beautiful in so many ways. And then the follow-up YouTube video, which obviously is just kind of nailing it. If you haven't watched this yet, you need to. If you're at all even remotely interested in watching Deadpool, that is. If you're not, you might still enjoy the humor. I don't know. And Carson, yeah, that Last of Us trailer. Okay, I'm gonna pick this apart because there are things I really like about it. There are things I don't like about this. So in this opening of the trailer, there's some really nicely shot things, like that moment right there. This part's kind of okay. This part with the, like, as you start, oh yeah, right here. Okay, so basically from this shot of her eye on for the next few seconds, this looks almost like weird low quality camcorder. And it's not video quality so much, it's how it looks like it was shot. The lighting looks cheap. The movement, like the actor just moving this light, all of it looks weirdly off. Like it doesn't have that same, it doesn't have the sort of quality that they've shown in other shots. Something just didn't look right. I'm still not sold on Bella Ramsey as Ellie. Every time I see her, I don't see Ellie. Carson, seems like TV show quality. Yeah, it kind of does. It doesn't feel like HBO quality, which is, to me, the really big thing there. It just doesn't have that HBO quality feel to it. Yeah, I'm still very curious because there are several scenes in here that don't make sense. I want to go back and catch this shot. I'm pausing on that for a reason. I'll come to in a second, but there are a lot of shots in here that they don't remind me of anything from the game. Particularly that snowy field that they're crossing and walking across the snowy bridge. Again, this could be them going into the city of Jackson. Was that the name of it? So, you know, it might make sense, but it feels like they might have just created some new stuff for it to make sense. There was also, I don't know if this was still true, but I'm gonna look it up real quick. Anna Torv is, she was the actress from Fringe. She is going to be in, according to IMDb, she's going to be in the first 5 episodes. previously it had her in, I think, 7 of them. But even being in 5, that is a lot. Because she... Spoiler, sorry for anyone who has not played or watched the game. Sorry, I'm going to kind of give you a bit of a spoil on this. But, yeah, her character does not make it that long. Her character is maybe a quarter of the way through the game. And here she's going to be at least half of the show. So that could be a thing where they're just giving, like, there is more storyline potential in the earlier part of the game where there are more characters and there are more things to do, so I can kind of get why they would do that. The game, after you have that sort of opening setup and through the death of Tess, my throat's starting to go. Like, as they're going through those steps, I could kind of see it. There's a lot more stuff that can happen. There's more story to be told, more dialogue. But there's so much stuff that's gonna happen later that'll have to get like an episode each, and some of it almost deserves more. I'm kind of wondering how they're balancing this, that she's going to get that much, unless some of it might be flashbacks. And maybe they're wrong about how many episodes she's in. Maybe that's kind of a preemptive thing, or like I said, maybe there's flashbacks and it's just like going to be a scene, like a quick flashback scene that just happens to include her. But they'll, by that point, already be out of the city and stuff like that. I don't know. It's hard to say, but we'll see. Okay, now really quick on this shot. This is the one shot that I actually really love Bella Ramsey in, because it is her clutching him. Damn it. Hold on. Pedro Pascal. Sorry. Took a second. Had to remind myself. It's her clutching. That's Sarah. What do you mean? Nico Parker, Sarah Miller. I'm not quite sure. The outbreak scene. Oh! Crap, you're right. That's his daughter. Okay. Huh. That's right. I forgot about that. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Once I got a good look. See, what I loved about it is you can see the fear. Like, that girl had fear written on her face. It's so prominent and it looks so good. You can tell there's some emotion there. I do not get that enough out of Bella Ramsey in this. Bella Ramsey looks so blank-faced in a lot of it. So then, yeah, can't not talk about them, but the clickers look, yes. You said it. They look fantastic. They look so good. I mean, it's just a prosthetic. It's just the typical movie makeup thing. It's not like the stuff moves. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, 11 frames. 11 frames. And it just, every one of those frames counts for this thing's movement. But they look great. Those are killer prosthetics. Carson, how you doing the frame scrubbing? If you tap Well, you don't hold shift, but it's those two keys. It's the comma and the period. Just don't actually hold shift, because I don't know if it does anything, but I like to think of it as just the arrows. Oh, okay. If you hold shift down, it changes your playback speed. But yeah, those hotkeys have been in YouTube for ages. Speaking of, if you hold shift and hit question mark, you can see all of the various hotkeys that are supported on YouTube. Super useful. And then, by the way, you can do this on almost all Google sites that are basically apps. Almost every one of them, you can just hit question mark and get all their keyboard shortcuts. It is awesome. Yeah, I don't know how much of a Gmail super user you are, but there are a good handful of shortcuts that I rely on in Gmail. And I'm nowhere near as crazy about it as some people. I know a few people that they know Gmail, they know almost every shortcut Gmail has, and they use all of them. I only need to use like literally a handful. But yeah, super useful. And I love scrubbing frame by frame and some stuff. But yeah, sorry, Bella, I am just not sold on you as Ellie. I'm still expecting the show to be good. I'm just seeing weird little things that I'm not fully sold on. I think they could have done better. That's all. Yeah, and this right here, just the way that this light moves, the guy looks so motionless. This looks like a cheap shot from a much lower budget thing. This looks like the camera angle on this. It looks like someone just set these people up in the corner somewhere of like the corner of a room and made it look kind of right, and they shot it with the wrong lens, because they're just little indicators to me that something's not quite right about this shot, and that bugs me. It bugs me so much more than it should, but it does bug me. So I don't know. I'm thinking too, maybe this is stuff that'll only be a problem in some of the city scenes, and then it'll get better later. We'll see. So yeah, I'm still looking forward to this. It kind of sucks that it's not gonna come until next year. Let's see. Signs of infection. I remember coughing, muscle spasms, and mood change. I don't remember them ever having people slurring their speech when they were infected. Not that that's a big deal. And maybe there was a thing, but everyone seemed like they were generally okay right up until they started changing. But hey, I don't know. Maybe they're just kind of adding that or emphasizing it more in the movie now. I am overanalyzing this frame now. I'm looking at just how the bricks... Honestly, the bricks look in too good a shape for those signs that are on them. Those signs have taken a much harder beating than those bricks have. But hey, it is what it is. Yeah, so anyway... like I said, I'm overanalyzing. I don't need to get into that deep, but... okay, so really quick, let's see. For this weekend, what's happening? This is weird. This is actually a warm weekend again. It's supposed to be 88 on Saturday. So I'm going to say Saturday's a real questionable one for stream. It might happen, it might not. We're going to be coming off of a really cold night, so the house will actually probably be cool. Oh, Carson, yeah, that's right. I meant to make specific plans about that too. Good thing you brought that up. Okay, so first off, so for weather, as I arrange this view a little bit, there we go. Yeah, so for Saturday, a high of 88 with a low of 50 from the night before. That's kind of giving me the feeling it'll be cool in the house, but it all depends. We'll see. Also, we've, in typical Oregon fashion, is the Google event on Thursday? Well, if it's moved to Thursday, then the RambleCast could be right after the Google event. That could work. I don't think I can well, I could maybe push it to Friday, but Friday's a real tough one. So yeah, I'll probably push to Thursday. The counterpoint is we could always do it as a like pre-Google event. I don't know. I'm more inclined to do it after though. Okay, well, let me come back to that. So yeah, for this weekend, I'm gonna say Saturday's real up in the air. Let's just wait and see. Sunday is also pretty warm at 85, but that's usually okay-ish. It'll be a little toasty, but probably fine. It's so hard to predict with Oregon weather though, because if it heats up more earlier in the day, it can get tough. Oh yeah, there is that trivia event to factor in too. I forgot about that. Damn it. Stuff to schedule. Well, to be fair, for a second I was gonna say, to be fair, we could always just stream their trivia event, but I'm pretty sure that's under NDA, and that would be against their NDA terms. Why is that under NDA? Yeah, it would land not like if a RambleCast was kept short, it would be fine. If the RambleCast is going to go fairly long, then it's a little more troublesome. You know, maybe what we'll do. How about this? I think what we'll do is, what I might just do is I'll run it. I'll ask Corbin what he's feeling. We'll get, I don't know, maybe I'll see if I can even get Zach in on that call too. And we'll just try to rapid fire it, because let's be honest, Google's only going to announce at most a handful of things. It's going to be the Pixel phones, it's going to be the Pixel Watch, it's going to be they're going to talk about the camera, they're going to talk about Tensor 2, they're going to talk about, is it just the phone and the watch? Maybe it's going to be Nest Wi-Fi also. I think that's the only stuff. At least I can't specifically think of anything else. So, if that's the only stuff... Oh, Pixel tablet. You know, they might have news, yeah, but they're not going to be launching it. So, the most we're going to get is like more of a teaser. I'm doubtful on that. Seeing as we've already talked over a lot of this stuff, what I think I'm gonna do is predict, and I like I said, I'll ask Corbin if he's got any thoughts on this, and maybe we'll try to plan for this. But my prediction is that we're going to just do a short RambleCast. By short, you know how short goes, but intentionally plan for the RambleCast to be over earlier than this, and that'll give me a little bit of time to go do other stuff. Oh yes, the Pixel Ultra, 100%. Brandon's Pixel Ultra will finally come into existence. And I don't know how many people know what reference I'm talking about, but yeah. Anyway, that there was a thing a few years ago about that. Anyway, so yeah, I think what'll end up happening is a semi-short-ish stream. We'll just do only the Google stuff. Won't talk about any of the rest of it, and that'll give us time to have a little bit of a breath before the Pixel Superfans trivia thing, and which I almost don't even know why I'm gonna check that out, because it's not gonna. It's going to be hard as hell to win anything, because there are some actual diligent, crazy super fans. And it's going to be the presentations, the people speaking probably are not going to say a whole lot of super interesting stuff. Last year, I wanted to like last year's stuff. There were a few interesting comments, but a couple of the speakers got up there and were just droning on without much said. But it is what it is. Anyway, yeah, so right now I think Thursday is pretty likely. And the biggest factor in this is come Friday, I can do as much as possible to prep for Friday. I really work at it, but honestly, it takes so much time doing that movie post. I don't know that I can get it done and out that quickly. I can try, it might happen, but yeah, I don't have a ton of faith that I can do that plus a RambleCast. Or if I do, I'll literally be working on the movie post while doing RambleCast, because that seriously does take a full day. If only it paid a full day's rate. But yeah, anyway, so I think that's likely how it'll go. And yeah, I'll message Corbin about that in just a minute, right as soon as I get off the air. So yep, I think that about covers the next week. And then I know I keep saying this, but my hunch, such as it is that our warm weather will actually kind of be over after that streak of 80s coming up. You'll laugh, but the knife just fell off the desk. Had the sheath on, so doesn't matter. But still, kids, don't play with knives. I should update the movie post hero image backdrop. Why? I seriously, why? I kind of actually like that backdrop. B, I just don't want to go to the trouble. It's recognizable, and I did at least keep the Photoshop file for it. So this is kind of weird and not super important, but when I originally made it, something happened. I don't remember what. I ended up losing the Photoshop file for the original, and then somebody complained. It was a year later, somebody complained, and you can find it in comments if you care to see it. Someone complained that one of the logos in there had been changed. I think it was the logo for Google Play Movies or something. It's ancient. I mean, it's ancient for a reason, though. The thing is, I don't know how much longer it's going to get updated, so I'm not inclined to put a lot of work into finding a new image. Anyway, someone complained one of the logos was old, and Artem made a big stink about it, so I went in, I remade the image and fixed the logos, and then added several more logos because it made sense. But yeah, so I at least still have the Photoshop file for it, the PSD, so I can make edits relatively easily, but I don't want to go hunt for a new backdrop. I like, you know, it's not that the one that's there is so great it can't be replaced. It's just I don't have faith that I'm going to be updating that post for too much longer. It's missing the Apple TV logo. I bet that's not the only thing it's missing. In fact, I know it's not the only thing it's missing. Let's see. Let's pop that open real quick. I've got it on there. Where are you at? Oh, in there. Yeah. Okay. It's missing Apple TV. It's missing Hulu. It's missing Paramount Plus. It's missing Peacock. Yeah, actually. Oh, no, I need to open it on this computer because I have not been keeping things synced between them. Okay, this'll sound crazy, but I can actually tell you how many services I quote-unquote support. Actually, there's a reason for Microsoft over Apple TV. I will get to that in just a moment. Okay. Okay, just close that dialogue for a moment. All right, so services that I support. No joke. And this is written into code. That I actually have code written for each and every one of these services. Most of it's not much, but it's there. Amazon UK, yes, because they are separate. Though I don't look up links for most of it, but in the rare instances that something launches to Amazon UK and I can get the link for it, I do include it. Microsoft. So we're going to say that's 3. Google Play, YouTube, Vudu, Netflix, Hulu, Fandango Now, which now belongs to Vudu. Or Vudu belongs to Fandango. That's whatever. So I could actually get rid of one of those. HBO Max, because by the way, those two are technically separate. Showtime, Paramount Plus specifically, Peacock, Apple TV, iTunes, because also Apple TV and iTunes are different things. And I have seen people actually ask for iTunes links. I've more or less kind of stopped including them though. Sometimes I include them, mostly if it just kind of works out that way. Shudder. Shudder is a horror-oriented subscription service. Disney Plus, AMC Plus, Lifetime, Redbox. Let's see, we're at 21 now. Tubi, the Roku channel, DirecTV, Arrow, which is they try. Let's just say that they try.
Sky Go, that is a British thing. NBC, Hallmark Channel, Mubi, CNN Go. Seriously, CNN Go. That was 30. Spectrum. Okay, so 31 is where we get to Spectrum. Technically, I also have 2 theaters. They're actual just theaters, but they will do streaming in rare instances, which includes Lemillier and Eventive. And I don't remember what Eventive was. I think it was a thing doing stuff on behalf of theaters. For a while at the start of the pandemic, Lemillier was doing a ton of stuff. And so I was linking to them more than I wanted to. And it was a lot of weird, or a lot of real small name stuff, but it kind of made sense. And they were doing this whole like, hey, support your theaters instead of just all the big streaming networks, and we're putting stuff out that way. Please come check us out. And they were trying. I want to give them credit for that. They were trying to actually do like a virtual theater thing. But man, they just they weren't meeting their like scheduled release dates. They were doing a lot of weird stuff. They were making it so hard to search. It was a pain. Okay, anyway, why did I put Microsoft over Apple TV? So in the beginning, searching Apple TV was well, okay, actually this is still true. You cannot go to any website other than Google. You cannot go to any Apple-owned website and search for a show or for a movie. Try it. Go on iTunes. Go on... they do actually have web pages for the Apple TV stuff. You can't do it. They just don't have a search function. You can do it with the TV app if you have a Mac, or technically if you have an iOS device, but dear God, no one would want to do that. You can search for stuff on there, and that's actually what I end up doing. And I know Apple TV is popular enough that it's kind of worth this trouble. The thing is with Microsoft, so what I do, I can even show this, well, kind of. Actually, there's no point to showing this. I wrote a web page that has a search box in it. I just type the name of the movie, which actually I don't type it, I paste it in. Hit enter, and it pops open 8 tabs. Is it 8? I don't know. It's a bunch of tabs. And it opens up. I can even kind of tell you the order. It's Amazon, Microsoft, Google Play. Oh, who is in the number 4 spot? Can't remember for sure number 4. Number 5 spot should be YouTube. I think number 4 was Vudu. Then YouTube. Then Redbox, I think. I don't quite remember. Anyway, yeah, so it opens all these tabs with the search pre-filled in. And the whole point is I can easily do that with Microsoft. So the reason that Microsoft ended up in that list to begin with is because I could search their site. Originally, this list was just 5 services, or I think it was just 5. Then it progressively grew to more and more services as more services came along, and I add a new service to the list that I support probably about once every 3 weeks ish. And it's actually kind of amazing that some of these made it in, because the only way I found a lot of these is just because like there was one movie that came out and it was kind of notable, so I added it to the list, and in the assumption that I might use it again someday. Lately, like, I didn't have Spectrum until just a couple of weeks ago, but Spectrum has had like 3 relatively notable releases that are only in theaters and Spectrum. But if you happen to be a Spectrum user, there you go, you might want that. And also, I included Microsoft. I kind of figured, because I bet there are some people out there, I don't know for sure, but I bet there are some people out there who they are only planning to watch movies on their Windows device, maybe even an HTPC built using Windows. I figure there's some reasonable chance that some of them might have like store credit that they want to use, or maybe they get a discount on there, or maybe they just prefer using whatever player they can use. I'm not even sure how that works, but I'm assuming that the Microsoft's store, whatever it's called, I'm assuming that they have a way of playing the stuff that you buy. I just don't know what it is. I'm assuming you can actually buy movies through that. Can you? Anybody with Windows actually know? If it turns out that you can't, I'm gonna feel real dumb wasting time with this. But I just kind of always assumed that Windows users not would want to do this. I don't think anybody really wants to do this per se, but I just kind of always assumed there probably are people that are doing it. Either they don't know any better, or they prefer it, or they're lazy and they just want something like that. They don't want to use any of the others. Whatever the case, I figured Microsoft made sense. And because I couldn't search Apple's sites very easily, that's how Apple didn't make it on here. And initially, iTunes was a lot easier to search than Apple TV was. Like, I have to go through an extra step specifically to get Apple TV links. The only, I swear, only reason that I do it is because I figure there are probably enough people who want it, so I may as well include it. I don't have any evidence of this. I know some people have requested it, but that's it. I don't think it's that many. I think most people are coming to the list and ending up at Amazon, but I don't know for sure. And in truth, I think most of them aren't even ending up there. I think most people are checking this list and then going to torrent sites. Which, very notably, a torrent site is how I look up it's how I catch some of the straggler movies that don't make it into other lists. Because there are always a few, and torrent sites are honestly really, really good at catching this stuff. So, yeah. But yeah, going through, getting all the links, getting all the names of movies, getting all the listings sorted in order, like making sure data is correct and everything. It's a ton. It takes hours. It's the worst kind of data entry. And so that's like, that job basically starts Thursday night. Usually. Sometimes I don't really start on Thursday night. Sometimes I wait until Friday. And if I have enough pre-work done, I can usually actually knock this stuff out in about 4 hours ish. If I don't have enough done, forget it. Like, I can start at like 8 a.m. and aside from eating lunch, I can work until I dump this thing at like 5-ish. It all depends on a lot of factors, but yeah, I don't want to try to squeeze a RambleCast in there too at the same time, especially one that's cogent, coherent, like sane. It will not work. So anyway, when I stopped updating this post, I wonder if I'll... There's really no reason to. I was just thinking, I wonder if I'll share the code that I wrote for the scraper. I guess it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't really do anything. Amazon might get a little mad at me for doing that to IMDb, but I don't think anyone else cares. And I never actually wrote the scraper to target all the store sites, but I wanted to. I might do that someday, just for the hell of it. Though, again, I don't know that I'll be updating the movie list for too much longer. How does... Oh, I see why. I was thinking, how is this knife falling off the desk multiple times? It's because I'm resting the sheath of the on top of a smartphone, and it's basically just perfectly positioned so that it almost pivots on part of the handle, but it doesn't have any resistance, so any small shake to the desk is causing it to slide on the phone, and then it tips off. Again, still wearing a sheath, so it's safe. It's fine. No one's losing a toe right now. But yeah, anyway, there's more insight into this movie post than I think anybody actually cared to have. But seriously, I do actually, no joke, I do actually kind of support 31 Baskin-Robbins flavors of streaming services. Fewer if you want to split apart a couple, fewer if you want to combine a few of these, like Amazon and Amazon UK and Voodoo and Fandango. I guess I need to check which one of those I need to kill. Is it Voodoo or Fandango? Okay, I see Voodoo in there. And if I search for Fandango, it doesn't show up. Okay, so I can kill Fandango, which is great because that one required a custom regex to clean up the URL anyway. So that's awesome. Austin, that would be hilarious. And if they want it, they can pay for it. That being said, from what I understand, they don't pay their people very well, even by the standards set by AP. Apparently Screen Rant really does not pay high for their writers. Go check Glassdoor. There are stories. But yeah, anyway. Speaking of, you could go check that for other sites too. There are a few recent reviews that have popped up, which are interesting because some of them I wouldn't take at face value. But yeah, anyway, so let's see. Carson, you're still surprised they haven't cross-posted it? So am I, actually. Honestly, like, I think that's very, very surprising. I kind of thought that was almost a sure thing once they technically were in the acquisition. Like, it just sort of seemed likely. But, yeah, they haven't. I don't know why. I have a feeling that if they did, though, at that point, I would demand at least they'd have to start paying me the per view rate that they were already paying for every other post and not mine. There's a whole long explanation to that I could go into sometime, but my voice is going, so I think I'm gonna stop with that much. Anyway, so okay, it's pure accident. I just noticed the movie I accidentally scrolled to is The Swearing Jar. very much an accident, but oddly kind of appropriate. All right, but anyway, I'm gonna take off. I think that's a good wrapping place for this. So thanks everyone for coming by, hanging out, being part of the conversation, chatting with us. Again, should be kind of questionable for game streams this weekend, but Sunday seems pretty likely. Saturday's a little iffier. Next week, probably going to be doing a Thursday stream. We will work out the details of which later. But with that, thanks everyone for coming by, and I will be seeing you in the next one. Good night, everybody.